All right. Good evening. Dog just freaked out. So he's talking to somebody. He should be talking to me. So tonight, I thought it'd be kind of fun. There was a video came out on the AOPA's Air Safety Institute website or YouTube channel that talked about an aviation accident that happened here last year. Was it earlier this year? Maybe 2 years ago? Very recently, about a crash that happened in Aspen, Colorado. So I figured we'll exactly do that. So I've got a flight kind of loaded up here, but I thought what we might do is actually play the video and then try and recreate it as we're going. So I think that's what we're gonna do here. Hopefully they don't murder us. Let's inset settings and turn on the iPad mode because we got some iPad stuff there. And hey, look, it's some video. So we're gonna see if we can actually get this thing to play. I plugged in the new video card here, but while that's loading in, I'm gonna load in the plane, which is a Bonanza down here in Aspen, and I think I'm gonna load it up a bit with fuel because I think it'll help. So now, as long as we're making some commentary over it, it should be okay to play the video. As long as we're not just all doing a watch party of the whole video. So you can find this on the AOPA's website.
It's July 3rd, 2021, and two pilots are preparing to depart Aspen, Colorado on a Beechcraft Bonanza G36.
Turn that down.
The time is approximately 6:20 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Their trip began in California early this morning. One of the pilots has recently purchased the Bonanza, November 36 Juliet Juliet, and intends to fly it home to New York. The other passenger, also from New York, has joined the flight as a safety pilot. After a 5-hour and 20-minute flight from Napa County Airport, the two pilots landed in Aspen around 2 p.m. for lunch and fuel. Their next stop is Des Moines, Iowa, and they've waited a little over 4 hours in Aspen before returning
Hey, Very Silent
to the
Bob,
airplane.
how's it going?
Perhaps the
And
long
brace yourself,
delay
of course.
included time to wait for cooler temperatures and a more favorable
outside air
density
temperature.
altitude. But the temperature now at 6:20 p.m. is 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and the density altitude is close to 10,500 feet. Not much of an improvement from earlier this afternoon. Although the Bonanza G36 is an excellent platform for a trip across the country, sturdy and spacious, with a Garmin G1000 and an IO 550 with 300 horsepower at sea level, the engine is not turbocharged. The Aspen Airport sits at 7,838 feet MSL, an elevation already challenging by most standards. Given the
Should
current
get us
density altitude of
pretty good.
10,500
So effectively what they're doing is they're taking off in a very, very warm day. Very warm day. And even though these are pretty powerful, these Bonanzas, the problem is when you get really dense air, really hot dense air, the engine just doesn't work as well. So you can see on this graph here that they're talking about this, where they say it's 300 horsepower normally, but when you get up to 10,000 feet, you're only really pushing kind of 200 horsepower. So that's kind of the crux of this accident.
feet. The normally aspirated IO 550 can achieve no more than about 200 horsepower under the best of circumstances, and the G36 is a heavy airplane. Density altitude can pose significant challenges in Colorado, which has the highest average elevation of any state and the highest average airport
So
elevation.
Aspen, Colorado, pretty
Every
high.
year, the state is among the top in the
Pretty
nation in
friggin'
density
high.
altitude-related aviation accidents. As the Bonanza waits to depart, the ground controller issues an IFR clearance.
Star 36 Juliet, Juliet, you're clear to Delta Sierra Mike Airport via the Linz Niner departure to Linz, direct IDEEN, JNet,
They might
Base.
be on...
Delta, Victor, direct.
Hey, look who that
Flying
is.
maintain 16,000, expect 17,000, 10 minutes after departure.
Looks like they took off 3-3, but that's
Squawk
okay.
06
We're going to be flying
15.
around for a little bit first.
Just 6 Juliet Juliet. Somebody stepped in on us up until JNet, and then we have JNet after that. But we can't do 16,000, sir.
November 6 Juliet, Roger, on the Linz Manor
Alright, I
departure.
can start rolling here.
1,000.
Because they're gonna
we'll just
kind of
mark
skip
it on
over part of this.
And Bonanza 6 Juliet, are you going
can
down Valley
feel
before
it
you make your
being
eastbound
lethargic.
turn, or are you going to go northeast through the bridge?
We're going to make our decision once we take off, actually, and once we see what's going on.
November 6 Juliet, Roger.
Make a decision once they're off the ground.
It's 6:24
Smart.
p.m. when the Bonanza
Smart.
departs. The pilot advises that they will make a right turn following takeoff and requests permission to climb up to altitude while circling over the airport. Perhaps the pilots cannot accept the IFR clearance of 16,000 feet because they do not have supplemental oxygen on board. Or maybe they understand just how difficult it will be to coax the airplane up to that altitude.
November 6 Juliet, up over the area. When it be down Valley, do you mean just straight your flight to go then?
November 36 Juliet, down Valley is more to the northwest. Are you looking to go to the southeast currently?
We're going
Oh
east
man,
southeast.
look at that. It's barely
Southeast,
climbing.
Copy.
The pilot's reference to the southeast departure is possibly referring to Independence Pass. Their plan is to eventually cross the imposing Sawatch
Pull up.
mountain range to the
I am
east,
pulling up, but
with
if I
peaks topping
so if I pull up too
14,000
hard
feet.
here, it's gonna stall. So I got to be very, very deliberate on the controls. No autopilot here, and I do have flaps down. Flaps down. So if I put the flaps up, I should accelerate, but it's going to not necessarily climb as fast, but a short distance. It'll climb faster ultimately. So the main one that people go down here is this Independence Pass, but I think the one they talk about in this one is they go up this pass here. So let's see.
About 10 minutes later, November 36 Juliet has completed 2 ascending circuits over the Aspen Airport and has reached 10,000 feet in
500.
The pilots
Ascending.
decide they have enough distance to climb en route and clear the mountain range to the east. They are perhaps unaware of the recommended mountain flying technique of climbing to ridge crossing height before turning toward the ridge.
November 6 Juliet will be departing to the east. Thank you. We're about it.
November 6 Juliet, Roger.
It's unclear if the pilots had originally intended to take Independence Pass. They are now heading toward an adjacent pass known as Under Creek Valley. This valley will ultimately lead them to Midway Pass, which is approximately 11,800 feet. The Bonanza makes its way up the valley. Its rate of climb is minimal, averaging about 200 feet per minute.
So
About
obviously
half the
I
climb
am.
is predicted
Hey,
by
it's
the
brace
pilot's
yourself.
operating handbook under these conditions. Still, the high mountain ridges in the distance are miles
So this
away.
thing's climbing way
Surely
faster
far
than
enough to
airspeeds.
continue climbing and eventually clear them. The valley curves to the southeast, and the Bonanza follows its path.
See how close I am to
The
the angle
valley
of
floor
attack.
begins to creep higher, but the airplane maintains its sluggish rate of climb. The Bonanza is approaching a semicircular mountain ridgeline with tops over 13,000 feet. Midway Pass provides a route through this ridgeline at 11,800 feet, but at this point, the Bonanza's altitude is only 10,700 feet.
So basically,
matters
they're
worse,
in
the
this
canyon
valley
has
that we're
become
coming up
narrow.
to here. Come on,
The pilot
pause.
has put
There you go. All right. So I'm gonna trim out here a little bit better. Not like that. Trim out that way. Fortunately, I don't have easy trimming on this this Xbox controller. Of course, I'm playing on PC, but using an Xbox controller. What is wrong with me? I'm a monster. So. Alright, so they said they were around 10,000 feet into this valley, which is kind of where we are right now. And I would have to agree that this is not a good idea to come in the valley at this low and just hope to climb your way out of it. Now, I haven't done a lot of mountain flying. Yeah, very silent Bob. I am crazy.
Positioned the Bonanza in the center of the valley, where the terrain elevation is lower. But in doing so, it has not allowed the airplane sufficient room for a 180-degree turn. Best practice for canyon flying is to favor one side of a canyon.
All right,
based
so
on
let's do
winds
that.
and
Let's
traffic,
stick to the
and to allow for
side of the
maximum
mountain,
turning room
side of the
when the turnaround is necessary. necessary.
The valley.
Now, time is running out. It's clear that the Bonanza won't clear the ridgeline in the distance, and the valley floor creeps higher still.
Yeah, my dog is a
Pilots make
monster.
the decision to abort, to turn around and escape
Yeah,
back
go sit
down
on the
the
couch,
canyon.
dog.
But it's too late. With insufficient room to make a full turn back, the Bonanza impacts terrain at 11,000 feet.
So obviously I'm climbing quite a bit faster, so the game is not quite as accurate.
It's difficult to comprehend the impact that density altitude has on aircraft performance without experiencing it firsthand, especially for those who are used to flying over lower and flatter terrain, as was the case for these pilots from New York. The safety pilot held an ATP rating and was highly
Hey, Presidential,
experienced,
how's it
but
going?
we don't know to what extent he had experience in flying a normally aspirated piston airplane.
We
in high
are
density altitude
currently
conditions.
basically
Among
watching
some of
these AOPA air safety videos and trying to basically recreate them. So we can see here that it is, we're actually getting pretty close to the mountain up there. So up over here, if you can see where the mouse is. Oh, the mouse is different on that on the game capture. In any case, right about over there, that's the pass we're going for, right over there. So we have to keep climbing to 11,500, but we're easily going to make that. So this game, even with a fully loaded airplane, is going to make this no problem. And then we got brace yourself, following along. Yeah, absolutely, Presidential. What's your question? You're flying through mountains, it shows your altitude. Does it change depending on the mountain underneath you? No, it does not. So it's based, your altitude is based on the air pressure around you, and it's basically the air pressure around you. So that air pressure doesn't matter if it's moving around a mountain or whatnot, it still changes with altitude. So your altitude always stays the same. Now, you can use special software that'll give you your AGL, so above ground level, but in your airplane, your altimeter is always MSL, so mean sea level. Yeah, exactly. AGL versus MSL. And GPS is always MSL. Well, it's MSL based on a approximate geoid and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Altitude is based on sea level. That's why they call it MSL, so mean sea level. So it's the average sea level around the Earth. That's what they base it off of. All right, so here's Midway Pass. Why is this not showing up on here? Because I didn't hit start flight tracking.
500.
Oops. Turn on the inset. And we should. There we go. So this is going to be this Midway Pass that we just got through. So we just kind of barely squeaked through there. Even with this Bonanza with much higher performance, it's still just squeaking through. So now we're still getting to Independence Pass, which is still another 500 feet above. So in the real world, we'd climb up to this altitude before we got out to this distance. MSL doesn't help you much for flying around mountains. It does, but it doesn't show you the altitude of the mountain. So that's why we have charts that tell us how high the mountains are around us. Like, for example, you can see here Independence Pass 1293, but there's also this 13988 and 12813. So we can get a good idea of what altitude everything is out here and try and stay above that. Some planes have radar to show the height between you and the ground plane. Yeah, exactly. Radar altimeters. So large airplanes will have that. Sometimes smaller planes do as well. Sometimes float planes do, specifically to deal with glassy water landings. Make your way higher from the ground, yeah. Don't you have to turn your altimeter before setting off? Yes, you do. Absolutely. But what you might also do is if you call into whatever airport you're calling into, you can see the barometer right here, so the outer dial here, so we can change my dial. Yeah, there we are. What else? All right, so if you dial that 2992, that's going to change your altimeter as well. And what they'll do is they'll figure out how high they are at the ground. So they'll actually have a barometer on the field. They know how high that altitude is. So we're obviously going to make this pass here. So this is Independence Pass. We're going to make it through here, and then it's all downhill from here. So. Thank you for the bits, Presidential. And you get Potato Cannon. Which is, I messed that one up. Look at that. That should be below that. So, whoop, that's a little better. Good old Potato Cannon. So, we're obviously making it up there. One of the things that they also talked about in the video is the effect of leaning. So if I had this mixture all the way rich, like many people do, if they're not paying attention, look at that. My engine's just struggling. It's dying out. So bring back that mixture, and we're getting RPM again. So it'll starve it out. So it'll be way too rich, running way too much gas for not enough air. So another thing that automobile engines do way better than airplanes is automatic leaning of the mixture. All right, so that was fairly all right. Let's head back to Aspen, and I'll show you the kind of effects of the altimeter there. So I'm not just going to try and turn around through the middle of the valley, which is this is a very bad thing that I'm doing here, flying through the middle of the valleys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and do kind of an S-turn. And one of the techniques in a valley is if you get stuck like those guys did, instead of them trying to turn around directly like we're doing right now, we have enough space to do it. If you don't have enough space, one of the things you can do is instead of trying to turn, what you can do is just use whatever speed you have, take it, and then basically pull up and over like this and do what effectively amounts to a wingle. Now, I just snap rolled that because we're high altitude. But you effectively bleed off some airspeed and then bring it around. So, you want to be very careful with that one because you can stall spin and then it just gets even worse. Be careful. Be very, very careful. Alright. So let's get over this mountain here, and then go back down to Aspen. Shouldn't be too hard, 'cause it's all pretty much downhill from here. So we should be about 500 feet above this ridge, above this pass, which is good. Didn't even see what that pop-up was. I should probably turn those off. And if we go to this, go do not disturb. Just turn it on. There we go. Did they teach you anything about how to fly into trees? The best way to survive? Yes. So I've learned that from just watching videos and stuff. But the best idea is that you effectively, if you're going to hit them, you want to have some energy when you come into them.
500.
But then, right before you hit, you want to basically stall it and lose as much energy as you can. So just skim above the trees and stalling it, boom, and you come. So you want to have enough energy to kind of be able to make that determination. Otherwise, you could bring it in, stall it, then you just straight in. So you want to come across the top of the trees, stalling with as little energy as possible. Yeah, so nose up. So you want to kind of be nose up, but in your flight path to be right across the top of the trees with your nose as high of an attitude as it possibly can be. So, because, you know, when you're sitting in a seat, pushing forward, that's going to throw you against the panel and smash your face against it. Whereas if you're nose up, you're going to be using more of your seat, your back, to kind of hit it instead of crushing yourself forward. So you'll have a different type of injury, but a much, much more survivable crash. So landing like this is a lot more survivable than landing like this.
$500.
Close to VNE. Doing a quick canyon run here. Totally how you fly planes. Surprisingly, this is actually probably legal. Not smart, but legal. Of course, I just flew over a road, but that's probably okay. Skim the treetops. Gotta be getting close. Yeah, Aspen's just over the corner here. And then we'll play around with that altimeter and kind of show you how that changes there. One of the things when you're setting your altimeter and you don't have AWOS or you don't have a tower or terminal to actually tell you what altimeter you should be setting, that's when you want to. There's other methods that we can do to set that. Which back at the Soaring Club, we didn't have certified equipment to get barometric pressure, so we had to use these various other techniques. Now this is definitely not legal. Wish I could turn on cinema mode or something.
$500.
I need to give myself some more screenshots to use for promo thumbnails for the stream. Illegal. Oops, surprised I haven't been arrested. Yeah. Anything's legal as long as you don't get caught. Alright, high AOA. We are way low with not a lot of energy. This is not a good situation that I've put myself in. As we know, in this plane already, if we put the flaps down, brace yourself. If you put the flaps down in this plane, it can barely handle a climb. So, we want to be super, super cognizant of that. Landing gear coming down, which, as we know from Matt's videos, that causes a lot of drag. Effectively uses them as speed brakes, which, you know, fair enough. And we're just going to hot rod this bad boy in here. Oh, that was rough. Nice gentle rollout, though. I will take it. Jeez, keeping right up, right in formation. Alright, so I'm not gonna bother parking properly. Just gonna hit a pole there, lock it off. Alright, so from this we can tell, so I'm just gonna hit B, which is gonna give us our altimeter. But we can check our actual, elevation here from the charts, and I should bring that up so you guys can see it, which you already can, sweet. So we see field elevation here from this airport diagram is 7838, and that's about right. But if we didn't have AWOS telling us, or ASOS or AWOS, an Xbox controller, it's an Xbox controller on the PC, so it's not that bad. So if we really wanted to dial this in, if we didn't have an AWOS giving us our standard altimeter, so we would just turn this barometer here, and we'd be able to tell that it'd be somewhere around here. So 29.95, 29.96, somewhere in that range, that's going to be our altimeter setting. So because we know the altimeter, we know the altitude, we can actually just adjust our barometer itself. Otherwise, we have to call ahead and ask them, or the terminal will call us when we arrive, and give us an altimeter setting. And they want to give us everyone. Even if you go on the ground and you're taking off, you can't just set this yourself at an airport where they have a air traffic control unit, because if you set it like this, you could be a couple 100 feet difference. Like, oh, we'll have to have it exactly perfect. There's been times I've taken off at my home airport and I've been like almost 100 feet out. But you have to be cognizant of that, because when they want you flying at a certain altitude, altitude compared to everyone else, if you're 100 feet off of them, even though both your altimeters are reading the same value, you know, you could be causing some issues. So they could want you 500 feet apart, but now because your altimeter is set wrong, you're now only 100 feet apart, and that's in collision territory. So you want to be really, really cognizant of that. You want to make sure your barometer is set correctly. So one of the other things too is your transponder, which in here is right here. Your transponder doesn't set its altimeter. Your transponder actually always uses the standard altimeter, which I think if we just click this, no, we can't set that. So it will always use whatever 2992 is, and it broadcasts that out, and then it's up to the ground station to interpret that, so they know what the altimeter is, what the altimeter is in that area, and they can work out what it actually is. So that's kind of how the barometric pressure stuff works in an airplane. One of the things too is if you're flying into an uncontrolled airport, I've had this happen. I was flying into an uncontrolled airport. They're supposed to have an AWOS or an ASOS. I can't remember which, and it was down. It just wasn't it wasn't reporting. I should have actually reported that. That was like a year and a half ago. I should have reported that to Nav Canada, but I didn't. Was like, okay, well, I don't know what our altimeter should be. And as it turned out, our altimeter was probably about 400 or 500 feet off. So what I did to solve that problem, because, you know, I was like, it felt like we were off, but like, you know, I need to know a good setting for this. I went onto my iPad, of all things, looked at the bottom, and then I got my GPS altitude. So you can see, well, you can't see on there. It's that's a little unfortunate. I've rejiggered some of this stuff, so it's but you can't really see the altimeter there. But it is on the screen for me. Let me see if I can fix that here quickly. Let's go studio mode. Then if I go to inset, not external input. Maybe it is. Transform. Stretched inner balance. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, this is what happens. Transforms. Transform, edit transform. Scale to inner bounds, good. Lock that one off. And iPad. Transform, edit transform. And then we want to scale to inner bounds. That should be it. Lock that one off. It's a little jank now, but whatever. Close enough. Unfortunately, I can't smarten it up a little bit. That's okay. What I'm going to do is add a color source. Black color source. That can go on the bottom. And lock that one off. That looks a little bit better. Cool. Off studio mode. So what I did is I just read that altimeter. You can see off the bottom there of the screen, and then I just went into my altimeter on my actual airplane, and adjusted my barometer until my altimeter actually read the same, and then that gave me my barometer setting. So that's some little kind of clever ways you can get around that, because I know that GPS altitude is always going to be a consistent, much more accurate. It can be off by 100 feet or 100 meters or whatever, but usually it's not. Usually it's much less than that. So, all right. So we played around with that flight there. What's the next one we can mess with? Trapped in ice. Traffic pattern tragedy. So this is another good one. Not that one. This one. That's what we're looking for. So this one, this is another kind of interesting long story from them.
It's early afternoon on June 9th, 2016. A Cirrus SR-20 November 4252 Golf is en route from Norman, Oklahoma to the busy William P. Hobby Airport in Houston, Texas. The Cirrus is carrying 3 occupants, the 46-year-old private pilot, her husband, and her brother-in-law. The trio is traveling to visit a relative who is receiving cancer treatment at a Houston hospital. The 3-hour flight from Norman has been uneventful, but now in the busy Class B airspace in Houston, things are about to change.
Cirrus 4252 Golf at 1,500 feet.
Cirrus 4252 Golf Hobby Tower, number 2, following 737 on a 3-mile final.
All right, so we're going to basically pick up exactly where they are. There's nothing really weather special on this one. This one's just
Hobby Airport has a high volume of air carrier traffic
This
today.
one's just a kind of an issue with communication, an issue with pilotage. And we'll see exactly what's going on here in a second. As soon as this loads in, there we go, and we're loaded. I'm just going to hit the gas. Doesn't really matter what airport we're picking up at, so. Because they're not flying VFR or IFR, they're flying VFR. flying speed, and away we go. Yes. So we set our course. No, heading, synchronize heading. There we go. And then this does have an autopilot here somewhere. There it is.
Engaging autopilot.
So we go nav. Actually, let's just go heading.
Don't sink.
500.
Don't sink. Don't
That's
sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't
Thrilling,
sink.
yeah, 1D.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
Okay, fine.
Don't sink.
Up
Don't
you
sink.
go.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Engaging
Don't sink.
autopilot. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
Yeah, I get it. Don't sink. All right. So we're just going to kind of follow in kind of the same approach they did on this
Mostly
video.
737s on the approach to runway 4. Cirrus 4252 Golf is approaching the airport from the west about 7 miles out. Winds are out of the east at 12 knots, with gusts up to 16 knots. The tower has cleared 4252 Golf to land following a Boeing 737 on a 3-mile final for runway 4. But now, another 737 is approaching
So
quickly
one
from
thing
behind.
to note
Don't
here.
proceed directly. The numbers are going to be inside of a.
One thing to note is on my visuals. So this is my iPad. It looks like this airport, this runway that they're actually going to be talking about here in a second, is actually now permanently closed. So, or perhaps just construction. Taxiway. No, it looks like it's just closed for construction. So 17. Maybe it is close. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Not following there because I don't live there.
737 intercepting at 2 miles an hour.
So direct to the numbers.
4252 Golf.
Cirrus 52 Golf, maintain maximum forward to the speed at stable and proceed to direction numbers. The 737 is on a 9 mile final following you, the 80 knot over 2.
Okay, we'll proceed direct to the numbers and keep speed up 4252 Golf.
All right.
Southwest 235, Hobby Tower, number 2, following Cirrus on a 2 mile final range. 4 clear to land. Begin to
Poo-poo stink.
to,
Okay.
final approach to stable.
But the faster 737 is overtaking the Cirrus too quickly. The controller makes a decision.
Cirrus 52 Golf, Tower.
4252 Golf.
Yeah, I got traffic behind you. Just go around and fly runway heading now. Maintain VFR mode. Put your back in downwind number 35. The winds are 09013, gust 18. Can you control 35?
Following his call for a go-around, the controller has issued a somewhat lengthy
All
set.
right. So
3, gust 20.
090 at 13 gusting 18. So let's go and actually set these. There's guys. 090. Speed in knots 13. Gusting 090. Isn't that right? It's like it gusts 0 to 1 knot. Okay, sure. You do you. Can't see the video? Yeah, the video's paused right now, so let's switch that back over. Porridge time. Delicious porridge. Let's see if we can make this 5 knot gusts like it should be. Unless we should Set that for 18. It's like still 0. I swear this wind system is just junk. Junk. Okay.
Following his call for a go-around, the controller has issued a somewhat lengthy set of instructions to the Cirrus. He has also asked the pilot if she can accept a new runway assignment, runway 35. The wind's at 090 at 13 knots, with gusts up to 18 knots. This would put the airplane at a 15-knot crosswind component, as well as a 10-degree tailwind. The conditions are less than ideal. However, the pilot of 4252 Golf doesn't protest.
We'll do go around and line up for runway 35.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't protest that either. What do you think would happen if GPS was down for a long period of time, like the Kessler syndrome happens, and all
Shortly
satellites get
afterward,
damaged?
the controller
So
gives
that
further...
depends. If all you have is GPS, and you're just talking about the GPS specific system down, then yeah, we'd have some problems. Airplanes could still navigate. IFR airplanes can still navigate. We still do have enough VOR stuff, which is why we're going to have VOR stuff in the future. But if you have good stuff like an iPad, it's a total non-issue if you're just talking about GPS, because we have Galileo and GLONASS and all that. So let's get this turned in. Somewhere around like that.
Instructions.
For 52 Golf, when able, go ahead and make a right downwind now for runway
So in the
35.
video, what's happened is they were trying to sneak her in right in front of a 737, but the 737 was just coming up way too fast on her. So they said, you know, you could stop there, but that 737 is going to have to go around. Can you just go around for us? And that's exactly what she did. Flying in a recent storm, managed to get just to 9.5 knots. Not bad, not bad. I have flown backwards by about 10 knots before, and I might have the video around here somewhere. I might have the video.
And then we'll just go ahead and keep that right turn runway 35 clear to land.
Okay, make a right downwind for runway 35.
How reliant are newer pilots and
For 52
GPS?
Golf,
Do you
yes,
think
just
most will be
keep the
comfortable with
right
VOR
turn
now?
all the way around. You're just gonna roll right
I would
into
say
the
most
base
new
for
pilots
runway
probably
35
aren't
clear to
comfortable with
land.
VOR
I got
now.
another
So
737.
I've been doing my night rating, which you have to do a bunch of instrument stuff. And I went with my flight instructor, and he's just like, yeah, you've been poking around on flight sims and stuff. We'll see. And we did some VOR stuff, and I was just, like, in my own plane, I don't have autopilot or any of that stuff. We just kind of, turned off my iPad, and I just tuned in. He's like, okay, let's go here. I scroll around on the iPad trying to figure out what the VORs are, and just tune it in like 45 degrees in here, and he's just like, yeah, we got this. It's other pilots be like, oh, especially new PPLs, like, I don't really know, I don't really understand, I don't really get it. Like, when I was doing my PPL, I was actually using the VOR as guideposts on my cross countries, because what you can do is, so say on your cross country, I'm going to switch this over to the iPad here quickly. Say you've got a path like this, and you know what course and direction and stuff are. You're going to say, okay, well, this is this is an intersection here, and over here there's some water or whatever it is. Like, this is not accurate on this map. What I did is there was like a VOR over here. There's like a VOR over here. And I'm like, okay, well, at this is a crossing point because I need something over here, and there's nothing really good on the ground to use. And this is the radial off there, and I set it, and my instructor's like, I've never seen somebody do that for a PPL, but cool, let's see how it works. Worked out just fine. He's like, sure, I guess. It's not a problem. How do I turn that off? Clear. There we go. That's done. Okay.
5 mile final to runway 4, and you're going to be in front of him.
4252 Golf, turning around for runway 35.
Okay, 52 Golf, yeah. Let's just enter the right downwind of runway 35.
Right downwind 35, 4252 Golf.
For 52 Golf, I'll call your right base now.
All right.
At this point, the 737 on final for runway 4 is close.
So effectively, they had a 737 just land there behind them, and they're now doing that 180 to the right. So they're going to come and land on a different runway. And in an ideal world, they would have just turned right around and landed straight on that 3.5 there. That shouldn't have been too difficult to do. Now, when you're in a big stressful situation in an area you don't know, that can be a problem. So, probably turn that back on.
Closer than the controller originally anticipated. So now he advises the Cirrus that they will be landing behind the 737.
Turn my
right base behind that
airplane audio down a bit.
5, clear to land. You're going to be following them. They're going to be landing crossing running party route.
We'll make a right base following them. 4252 Golf for 35.
Now, concerned about traffic separation, the controller provides new instructions to the Cirrus.
All right, so we're just going to catch up to exactly where they were from this air. I love these air safety videos as well. You can find them on YouTube under AOP Air Safety Institute, and you can learn a lot. Like some of these, like replicating weather situations or replicating specific airplane failures, Flight Sim doesn't really do that great of a job at. So I wish there was a way where I could say, fail this instrument or fail that instrument, but unfortunately there's not really a way to do that right now. Alright. So we're getting fairly lined up. That's wonderful. I'm getting spam in the YouTube chat. Do a whole stream on the flying adventures of Harrison Ford. So people give him a bad name because he's had two main big public incidents. The first one was him. He had an engine out and he ended up landing on a golf course. Now, to my mind, that doesn't mean he's a bad pilot. That means he's actually a really, really good pilot, because that's a very, very difficult landing to do. Especially, I believe it was like in a Chipmunk, like particularly in the plane he was doing it in. Like that's a challenging landing to walk away from, and he did it, and he absolutely did it. He's an absolute legend for that one. The other one was just boneheaded, right? He accidentally landed on the taxiway instead of on the runway. So why don't we do that one next? We'll do that specific landing. So the Phoenix A320 has working fuses in the overheads. That'll be good for simulating failures. Yes, that will be. Thank you for the follow, First Camera. First Camera. I like it. I remember my first camera. It was a Canon T2i. Well, first proper camera. I do that all the time.
500.
Not on the taxiway. It's fine. Hey, helicopters can do it. There was actually a air traffic control thing where they asked the person to land on the taxiway. Start getting some flaps down. Flaps does not mean you have to be in the white line. That's only maximum flaps, depending on the POH. Obviously, you read the POH, different airplanes, different procedures. All right, let's bring this bad boy in. And somewhere around here is where they would have asked her to go around. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to pull out and start going around.
Cirrus 52 Golf, make a turn left heading 30 degrees.
Left heading 30 degrees. 4252 Golf.
Most likely, this instruction from the tower meant to turn left by 30 degrees. However, the Cirrus begins an extended left turn, interpreting the controller's instruction to turn left to a heading of 030
So
degrees.
this instruction from him was very confusing, where he said turn left 030 degrees. That can mean one of two things. It can mean turn left by 30 degrees or turn left to a heading of 30 degrees, which is why it's so important to be very precise, but also listen very, very closely to what they're asking.
Did you want to follow the 737 to runway 4?
Yes, that would be
Yeah, I
great.
heard that as heading
45
too.
to go.
Exactly.
Number 5
That's why it's
Golf,
so
Roger.
possibly
Follow
ambiguous.
The 737 and to runway 4, clear to land.
So she is
But
now
the Cirrus
somewhere.
is still in a left turn, and at this point is
around here.
perpendicular and heading away from runway 4. Both pilot and controller are confused.
So am I turning a right base now, 425 Golf?
Number 5 Golf, Roger. Just
So she is
maneuver
effectively
back for
right
the
over
straight
where
in.
we
I don't know
are.
which way you're going now, so just turn back around to runway 35.
Turning to 35, I'm so sorry for the confusion, 425 Golf.
That's okay, we'll get it.
The runway assignment has changed back to
Gives up.
35, and the Cirrus begins a right
And-
turn to line up on final. But at this point, given the earlier confusion, 4252 Golf has already overshot the final for 35. The controller notices this and questions the pilot.
At this
Cheers,
distance
5
out,
Golf. Which direction are you
lots of
turning now?
space. Lots of space
I
to deal
thought
with
I was
this.
turning right base for 35, 425 Golf.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. 5 Golf. Just make it so you're in a right turn. Keep it tight. I need you to make it tight.
Keeping turn tight, 425 Golf.
If she's not tight, it's
Or 5
going to
Golf,
go
I need
out
you to-
here.
Okay, there you
and
go.
into
Straight
the
into
path of
runway
the planes.
35. Clear to land.
Straight into 35, clear to land, and I don't believe I'm lined up for that. 425 Golf.
It's not entirely clear why the pilot makes this statement. The Cirrus is almost 2 miles off the threshold for runway 35, and presumably
See, now here's
has
the big-
enough
one of the
room
big
to
issues of the
maneuver
Cirrus.
back to
Look,
line up on the center
We're
line.
basically even
Given
here.
the pilot's earlier response
Level flight,
to
and we're
ATC
not losing-
that she
not
thought
losing
she was
speed
turning
at
a
all.
right base for 35, it's likely that she has become temporarily disoriented and does not have a clear picture of where the runway should be. The tower evidently takes her response as a rejection of the landing clearance.
Okay, 5 Golf. Roger. Turn to the right and climb maintain 1,600. Right turn.
1,600, right turn, 425 Golf.
5 Golf. Yes, ma'am. Heading about 040.
040, 425 Golf.
Now the controller proposes a new course of action.
Okay, 5 Golf.
We're getting
Let's
ahead
do
of her
this.
here.
Can you do a right turn back to join the straight into 35? Could you do it like that?
Yes, right turn, back to 35, 425 Golf.
I'm having power final. You can put it behind 5 unit do that. That's down 3100. He's already doing 180 back there.
And now you're clear to land.
35, clear to land, 425 Golf.
Thank you.
For the moment,
All right.
things seem to be going well.
Here's 5 Golf. Okay, you're looking good. Just
They don't
continue
give
right
altitudes
turn,
here, so it's a
runway
little difficult to
35.
figure out what
You see runway
altitude she's
35
at.
still?
But
Yes, 35, 425
have a number for you to
Golf,
call.
out of sight. Can
No,
you
I'm
my
not
roll
calling
around?
your number. You
Yes,
call
ma'am.
my number.
Yeah, you're good. So you can start your descent to runway 35.
Hey,
there.
Blue. Hey,
And clear to land on
Sebastian.
35.
Clear to land, 35, 425
Clear to
Golf.
land
Thank you very much.
35.
There's noticeable relief in the pilot's voice, but now there's a new problem. Cirrus 4252 Golf is too high on the approach.
So
and
she's about
struggling to
1,000
lose
feet, which is
altitude
where I'm at
fast
right
enough.
now.
To make things worse, the winds have picked up, and the tailwind
Did they
is
mention
now
her
at 20 degrees.
airspeed?
Too high on the approach and struggling to lose altitude fast enough. To make things
Yeah,
worse,
from this
the winds
distance
have
in a
picked up,
Cirrus,
and
this
the
is going to be
tailwind is now at
difficult to
20
lose this
degrees.
altitude.
Winds
I can
are
do it.
10015.
I'm going
gust
to
to
yeet this
20.
thing into the ground.
Okay, thank you. Trying to lose altitude, 425 Golf.
No problem. A little bit of wind off the right. Number 5 Golf. If you don't want to land, that's too high. We can put you back around the downwind. Don't force it if you can't.
Okay, we'll see. Thank you, 425 Golf.
20 seconds later, it's apparent
better
that
pick up
4252 Golf is still too high on the approach. The Cirrus has already
That's a good
crossed the
pickup
runway
lines for
threshold
pilots.
when the tower speaks up.
Okay, I think you're too high, Cirrus. 5 Golf. You might be too high.
Okay, we'll go around then, 425 Golf.
Abort the landing.
It's not clear if the pilot hadn't yet made the determination that she was too high,
Look how much we're
or if she
crabbing.
was still trying to salvage the approach. The Cirrus begins the second
500.
go-around.
Cirrus 5 Golf, Roger. Just, okay, you're just going to make
So
a
having a
right
hard
traffic
time
now
getting down, it
for
makes
runway
sense.
35. We'll come back around and we got it this time.
Sounds perfect. Right traffic for 35, 425 Golf.
The Cirrus flies the right downwind leg for runway 35. Shortly before turning right base, the controller cautions the Cirrus pilot that another
This would have been
737
doable
is on
if you
final
wanted to
for
land
runway
on the
4.
touchdown
052
point.
Golf, and there's a 737 on short final runway 4, touching down right in front of you, so just caution wave turbulence right there at that intersection.
Okay, I got that side. Thank you. 4252 Golf.
Get some
Roughly
airspeed.
1 minute later, 4252 Golf has turned final for runway 35. Again, the Cirrus overshoots the center line, perhaps due to the strong winds from the east, but it's still correctable. The bigger problem is altitude. 4252 Golf is once again too high on the approach.
52 Golf, you have runway 35 in sight.
Runway 35 in sight. 4252 Golf.
52 Golf winds 090 at 13.
Imagine being-
18, runway 35 again,
Yeah.
good left.
The controller's not too
35
bad.
cleared to
Not too
land.
bad.
Trying to get
I've
down
heard
to
way
hit.
worse.
4252 Golf.
Not around
No problem.
here where I am, but I've heard worse elsewhere.
4252 Golf is unable to lose enough altitude. The pilot initiates a third go-around.
All right, so now here's the main accident sequence. So she's gonna be coming around, and we're just gonna kind of yeet this one because whatever. The pilot, yeah, it seems like she's really trying, but seems like she's out of her depth right now. She's overwhelmed with what's going on, and like she's at a big airport. Remember, like this isn't. She's not like just flying this little plane. There's 737s coming in here, just going wow, 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 constantly. So in this time she's flying, there's probably been a couple 737s come in. So it's a little overwhelming. Yeah, she's not in the zone. She's not. She's getting the danger zone. All right. So main accident
Right around
sequence.
third time will be a charm.
Just before the Cirrus announces the go-around, a new tower controller has taken over.
Here
As
comes the new controller.
4252 Golf is climbing, the controller proposes a new plan and instructs the pilot to make left traffic. He also reassigns the Cirrus to runway 4.
Okay, Cirrus 52 Golf, just go ahead and make the left turn
Yeah.
now to enter the
Kona Stevie.
downwind, midfield downwind for runway 4. If you can, just keep me a nice low, tight pattern. I'm going to have traffic 4 miles behind you, so I need you to just kind of keep it in tight if you could.
Okay, this
Flaps
time
in.
will be runway 4. Turning left, 4252 Golf.
Yeah, and actually I might end up sequencing you behind that traffic. It's on 4 miles a minute. It is going to be
So
a
once
little
again,
bit tight with
she's
the
high.
one behind it. So when you get on that
Now
downwind,
he's
stay
just
on the downwind.
babbling,
Advise me when you
babbling,
have that 737 in
babbling,
sight. We'll
babbling.
either do 4, or we might swing you around to 3-5.
But as the controller is
500.
speaking, tragedy strikes. The Cirrus in a climbing left turn suddenly drops a wing.
Ma'am, straighten up, straighten up.
Straighten
It's
up.
too late. The Cirrus falls rapidly, spinning toward the ground below. It makes impact in
This
a
video's
parking
pretty-
lot just outside the
pretty
airport,
gnarly.
killing all 3 aboard.
Stall.
So we're gonna see. Nice, brace yourself. I think you landed on one wheel there.
We can't say for
Stall.
certain whether proficiency, which is somewhat
Stall.
subjective, was a
Stall.
factor. The pilot earned her private
So
certificate in May
she starts
of
pulling up now. I think the
2014, and she
SR-22
had
is a little
logged
bit
over
different than the SR-20.
330 hours of flight
But here's
time.
her. Here's.
Most of those hours
They'll talk
in
about
the
this in a
Cirrus
second.
SR-20.
It decreases
She had
her
flown 28 hours over the past
engine
90
to 80.
days and 7 hours over
80%
the past 30 days.
What
we do know
80%
is that
power,
the sudden loss
and starts
of
bringing in
control
the
was
flaps.
caused by the pilot's decision to retract
And you can
the
see
flaps before
we're now
reaching a safe airspeed
fully
during the
stalled.
climb. At the time of the stall, the airplane was in a left turn, and the flaps-up stall speed of the Cirrus SR-20 is between 70 to 75 knots indicated airspeed in a 15-degree bank. 4252 Golf was only at 62 knots when the pilot began to retract the flaps.
Way back here.
At this airspeed, a stall was inevitable. In its final report, the NTSB
So you can see
determined
the plane's not
probable
really
cause to
acting
be
like it would in the
pilot's
real world.
improper go-around procedure that did not ensure that
And
the
there it
airplane
goes.
was at a safe airspeed before raising the flaps. This resulted in an
500.
exceedance of the critical angle of attack,
But you
which
can
caused
see
an
how quickly that could have
accelerated
developed.
aerodynamic stall and spin
So-
into terrain. In addition, the NTSB listed contributing factors as the first controller's decision to keep the pilot in the traffic pattern, rather than
So, yeah,
transferring
that's,
her back to approach
sad, but
control
she
to
would've-
start
she
over
would've went
again.
down, right down
and
there.
the second controller's issuance of an unnecessarily complex clearance during a critical
Was
phase
the
of flight.
first time hearing it, Sebastian.
Also
Yeah,
listed as a
Sebastian.
contributing
I would
factor
strongly
was the
recommend
pilot's
watching all these videos on on the yeah, it was completely fatal. Brace yourself. Yeah, all 3 people on board died. I don't think anyone on the ground was injured, but certainly everyone on the plane was. Yeah, I would recommend highly watching all these. You can find these on AOPA. It's under Air Crash Investigation, AOPA Air Safety Institute. So if you look for that, I'll maybe just post that link here into chat. I can into this chat. Copy link, and I'm just going to paste this here for you guys. So that's that channel. Highly, highly recommend it. They have a whole bunch of these and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So if you're a pilot and you want to become better, John McClay, they just hated the black car. If you're a pilot and you want to become a better pilot, watch Air Crash Investigations. You can learn so much from other people's mistakes. Send these ones. Yeah, they are very, very well made, and they've been making them for like 10 years. Now they only make like 1 or 2 a year, but very, very incredible.
Assertiveness.
So pilots lack of assertiveness, and then they go into all the kind of details.
To 75 knots. The information captured by the airplane's flight data recorder reveals other troubling trends.
But I just ride right seat
the pilot
commercial
began
guys
to
doing
retract
medical
the
runs,
flaps
errands,
at 76 knots
get both
indicated
multi-time.
airspeed. During the second go-around, she began the flap retraction
Dealing
at
with bruiser
69
airspace,
knots,
yeah.
and during the
Busier
third
airspace.
at 62 knots. The recommended go-around procedure in the Cirrus SR-20
So she's getting
is to begin
slower and
retracting
slower and
flaps
slower
only
with
at
each go-around.
500.
Bleed some speed here. Of course, we won't be using the other side of side slip because this crosswind. Get some flaps out. So her second go around, she was doing it at like 60 some knots. So she's getting slower and slower and slower and slower and slower. Like that's rough. So she was more or less at the stall speed already. And then she decides, kind of a little bit slower than that. Decides to go around. And she's climbing out something like this. Huge crosswind, probably getting blown around, probably trying to keep that going forward. I have had to do go-arounds before. It sucks. It's not actually that bad, but still. If low speed and flat position were same, but she had not been turning, would it have stalled? She probably still would have stalled because she was below the flaps up stall speed. So she reduced her throttle to 80, and then put her flaps up.
Stall.
And immediately it's just gonna the plane's just gonna stall.
Stall. Stall. Stall. Stall. Stall. Stall. Stall. 500.
Roll and pull, slow, gentle. There you go. So what can happen is you can have a incipient spin there, or you can have a spin, and then when you pull out, it immediately get an accelerated stall and another spin. So you have to be super, super careful about that. So these planes, obviously the game doesn't quite model spins right. The spins are quite a bit more aggressive than that, especially in these carbon airplanes. So it can be a big, big problem. Big, big problem. All right, so next one I want to do, we can't really demonstrate it, but this one's kind of got a special place for me because of the type of plane used in it. Bragging on Harrison Ford that landing on the golf course was legendary. Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Everyone likes to poke fun at Harrison Ford, but the reality is he's actually a really, really good pilot.
On July 27, 2017, a Lake Renegade amphibious aircraft arrived at the Oshkosh Seaplane Base for an afternoon during AirVenture Week.
So this is where the seaplane base is down there.
The 33,000-hour ATP-rated pilot, a 2,400-hour CFI on the right seat, and a non-pilot friend in the
Fairly
backseat.
similar type of airplane, but not
The
quite
Renegade
the
is a
same.
6-seat, single-engine amphibious airplane produced by the Lake Aircraft Company.
So this plane is
Water
very,
takeoffs
very,
and
very
landings
much
in
like
the
my
Renegade
airplane.
require a deft touch, and many pilots of Lake models do not consider themselves experienced until they have accumulated a few hundred hours in the aircraft.
It's very true.
The pilot had almost
It's very
900 hours of single-engine seaplane time, although time in the Lake Renegade was more limited. The CFI-rated passenger had about 150 lake hours, and he had provided seaplane instruction to the pilot. The trio arrived at the Oshkosh Seaplane Base just after 12 p.m. local time and requested a tow into the harbor due to a sagging float under the left wing. The waves on Lake Winnebago were choppy that day, with winds peaking up to 12 knots, and the float was taking on water. The aircraft was towed to the dock, where the
Oshkosh.
passengers disembarked, and the pilot drained a large amount of water from the left float. The trio
just
then left
YOLOing
the
this.
seaplane base for a couple of hours. At approximately 2:30 p.m., the pilot returned,
So this will give me a
seemingly
good
ready
chance
to
to talk
prepare the
about
Renegade for
my
departure.
experience in a lake
He
as well.
asked for a boat to
So
transport
I
him to
own
the
one of these
aircraft,
planes, not the
which
big
had
ones
been
like the
towed to a
Renegades. I own the
mooring buoy
Buccaneer,
out on the water.
which is the smaller
After-
version. So, but the Icon is kind of like the more modern version of it. It's just less people in it, so you can only fit 2 people. It can't go as fast. It burns less gas, but it also has less cargo space, like drastically less. Like I could put a full set of skis in my airplane, or a couple full sets of golf clubs, no problem. Like absolutely no problem. In an Icon, no, you just don't have the space.
Boarding the Renegade, the pilot started the engine and attempted to taxi, but the aircraft was still connected to the mooring buoy. When the volunteer boat
Oh,
crew
God,
asked him
what
what
a
he was
moron.
trying to do, he was reportedly argumentative with the boat driver, saying, "You can't prevent me from leaving with my aircraft." The volunteer explained that he simply wanted to help, and that he wasn't going to be able to leave until he untied from the buoy. The aircraft was then towed to
Clearly
the raft,
he had been-
where the pilot drained more water from the left float, as well as the fuel in the left float fuel tank. At this time, it was discovered that an inspection panel was missing
All right, so
underneath
we're
the
gonna
left
change
wing.
the weather here as well.
The pilot stated that
Change
he
the
was ready to
wind.
leave. This concerned a member of the Air Ops team, however, who discouraged him from taking off due to the choppy water conditions on the lake. The pilot was resistant to
Whoa.
this advice, possibly worried about finding lodging during Air Venture Week. 2 more pilot briefers, one of them a previous
Well,
lake
that was
owner,
weird.
talked to the pilot to try to dissuade him. A lake amphibian has a high thrust line near the center of gravity due to the position of the engine. This high thrust line
Really?
causes downward pitching action when full power is applied, which is exacerbated by choppy water. The
Yep.
ensuing porpoising movements take considerable yoke action, properly
Yeah,
timed
it changed
to
the weather and just
counteract.
goes blips.
For this reason, takeoffs in choppy water conditions are not recommended. According to witnesses, the pilot was difficult to communicate with and did not accept any advice from those trying to persuade him to stay. Finally, the
So
seaplane base
over
chairman was
about
called
10
down
knots
to
is when you
talk to the
start getting
pilot.
choppy water.
After much conversation,
depends on how
the chairman
large the,
convinced the pilot to take a boat ride with him to see the water conditions firsthand. The chairman, along with the pilot and the harbor master, took a boat out into the bay adjacent to the seaplane base.
Right.
They observed the waves to be 1.5 to 2 feet high. The maximum demonstrated wave height for the Lake Renegade is 18 inches. The pilot agreed that the wave conditions were not acceptable at that time. However, after some additional consideration, he stated that he would just take off parallel to the swells in a northwesterly direction. The chairman and harbor master
That's
strongly disagreed with this idea.
Not the smartest
The wind
thing.
was coming from the southeast, and this would mean taking off with a tailwind. The chairman told the pilot emphatically that he would never get a lake airborne in the current water conditions, downwind, with 3 people on board, and added that trying so would be dangerous.
Yeah,
It was never
that's-
completely clear
So
why
that's
the pilot wanted to
incredibly
take-
stupid. Trying to take off downwind. So my plane, we did do one downwind takeoff on water, and even when it wasn't like ridiculously choppy, just don't. Just freaking don't. You have to have some serious respect for these planes. They are they can be an absolute handful, even if you've got a lot of experience. So let's try and land this down here, and then we'll go and try and do what this guy did. Oshkosh a few years ago, intent camped in the giant fields with all the trailers and motorhomes. Yeah, we left a few days after the show closed, after everyone departed. There was not one piece of trash or debris in the camping areas. Yeah. Yeah, people can be pretty respectful at Oshkosh. Plus, the volunteers are really, really good. So when I went there, I got there maybe a week in advance. And I helped do a bunch of the setup. That's when I actually got to go into the tower in Oshkosh. My very first time at Oshkosh, the show hadn't even started. I was up in the tower watching people doing landings. We actually watched some guy do a ground loop on, I think it was the Green Dot. And yeah, it was it's kind of a great experience. I got to hang out with the audio guys, a lot of the audio guys. It's like I don't really want to spend too much time with them because I want to experience the rest of the show like everyone else does. But getting to know those people, I've actually got photos of myself up in the comms tower, which let me see if I can find on here. Places, there we go. So this is me up in the comms tower at Oshkosh with my friend. He's the guy who does the audio. This is the audio booth. This is the full audio that runs all the audio for Oshkosh. So I got to meet the guy who set all that up. This is one of the hangars out there. There's Draco before it crashed. Bunch of stuff going on here. More planes. There's my tent underwater. Alright, so let's land this plane here. I didn't fly my plane in. I was actually, that was right before I bought my, so I'd bought the plane, but I hadn't picked it up yet. Alright, so this landing's gonna be greasy because these are some pretty greasy in a bad way. Yeah, those are some swells. Well modeled there, Microsoft. Well modeled. See if I can get some water rudder down, see if that'll help at all with water. It is not. But, yeah, these are much bigger waves. That's more than 18 inches of water. It's like 3 feet. Was it an expensive plane? Hey, Fliggity, how's it going? Which one, Bama? The one that crashed in this video? It's definitely a very expensive, reasonably
off in a downwind
250,
direction.
300,000.
It's possible he wanted to
check out
limit
the
his
Matrix
time
demo on
taxiing
Xbox.
on the water due to the issue with the left wing float.
I've heard of it. So a friend of mine said that it's out there. He's like, you should be streaming that. I was like, maybe. I gotta download it. It's in the other room. It's connected to a different thing. I gotta bring it back in here. Although now with the Matrix switch, like I can literally go number 4. I can change this to whoop, and then it's gonna quickly switch over, and then I should see the same as on my screen. So now you can see what I see over here, and you can see that the mouse is not necessarily synchronized between the two screens. Move over here. So I'm over the altimeter, hovering over the altimeter, and it's not actually there. Like, yeah, so the mouse is weird. But switch back that. So I'm actually not able to turn this plane right now. Yeah, sucks the PC won't do it, yeah. But, you know, they're trying to sell Xboxes. They need some reason for people to buy Xboxes. Unreal 5, which looks pretty nuts, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that. I gotta try that a little bit later.
Into the wind would require a long taxi out of the bay before turning southeast. After the boat returned to the dock, seaplane base volunteers offered their assistance in finding the pilot and his passengers lodging for the night. As time passed, the water conditions improved somewhat, apparently enough to satisfy the pilot that it was safe to leave. The pilot indicated that he was going to load his passengers and depart. The seaplane base staff, however, were not convinced. The chairman continued to discourage the pilot from leaving and shared his concerns with others. He had another lake owner talk to the pilot to try and convince him of the danger of taking off on high waves.
Yeah, I just took off with the water rudder down.
At
Don't
this
do that.
time, the
Break
pilot was
plane.
also reminded that he still had a missing inspection panel on the underside of the left wing, and the Renegade was unairworthy without it. After some discussion, the pilot was connected with a local mechanic, who performed a field repair with a small sheet of aluminum
This
and
is
duct
voiced
tape.
Morgan Freeman.
Afterward, the pilot checked out of the
No,
office
this is from
and received a final
the
briefing from
AOPA Air Safety Institute, and they produce great videos about aviation and particularly air crashes. So I'm going to turn this down because this wind is total nonsense. I don't get this wind graph. So, when we're in Oshkosh, this is where they do the float plane base. So all the planes will be tied up here, all the way back into here. But mostly, there's a lot of planes into here, and you'll actually see there's some docks right there, places to tie up. They have a bunch of the shows. This place is super chill, like super chill. Some people don't like coming out here. They're like, "Oh, stupid float planes. Who cares about those?" And you can just go out there and just sit and just watch the planes and hang out. So it is it's a different experience. It's definitely a different experience. So the view they're looking at on the screen there is just out to there. So the camera would have been over here looking out that way.
Who gave one last recommendation not to leave.
Morgan Freeman intimidated.
Determined to move ahead with his plan, the pilot loaded up with his passengers, and his aircraft was towed out of the seaplane base by boat. As the aircraft was towed into the bay, the pilot's impatience was evident, as he stated on 2 separate occasions that he was going to start the engine. Both times he was told to wait by the harbor master, who pointed out that the aircraft was still hooked up and under tow.
Ugh,
Within seconds of
guy
being
just sounds
released
like an
from the
idiot.
tow rope, the pilot started the engine and immediately applied takeoff power. Video and photos were taken of the aircraft as it made its way out of the bay. It was noted by witnesses that the flaps were in the up position, which, according to the flight manual, should be extended for all takeoffs and landings.
So the manual does say, now I don't have a Renegade, but the Renegades are basically the same plane, just a little bit stretched out. They're very, very similar. You always take off and land full flaps. It's flaps on or off, that's it. It's the only option you've got. Widget works, Airfish 8. I haven't yet. This guy shouldn't have any sort of licenses. Yeah, I don't think he has licenses anymore.
Flaps are especially important to achieve lift out of chopper.
He was trying to start the airplane while it was still attached to the buoy, and the guys are like, "No, you need to get towed out of here, you moron." Some people.
Water as quickly as possible. The Renegade made an arcing right turn on the water to the north to clear Stretch Point, and then settled into a northwesterly heading at a high rate of speed. After a 60-second takeoff run downwind, the aircraft began porpoising, bounced off the waves 3 times, and lurched airborne. The left wing stalled and caught the water, and the airplane cartwheeled. The Renegade came to rest in the opposite direction of the takeoff, with the right wing submerged and the left wing suspended in the air. Only the right seat CFI passenger survived.
So he actually had a CFI in the plane with him, and they both just like, "Yeah, let's
so
go."
Often poor decisions, easily identified in the aftermath, are camouflaged in the moment. Despite strenuous objections from credible onlookers, the highly experienced pilot could not see the extreme risk of departing in the unfavorable conditions that day. Perhaps the notion of getting stuck at AirVenture without lodging or transportation was so distasteful, it blinded him to...
So he's probably... 2 things were probably... It was the lodging, because lodging is definitely an issue in Oshkosh. Like, you're going to pay like $1,000 a night if you're trying to get something the day of. But more importantly, the other thing that I think he's probably mostly caring about is he had a leak of some sort where his sponson was going down. He wanted to get that water out of there, but you know, risking your life for that? Stupid. Just stupid. Oh yeah, the plane will do it. Yeah, but can you do it? Get their itis, yes. Leave their itis.
Clear
yeah.
reasoning. A proven enhancement to decision-making is a second pilot on board, but it didn't help in this instance. From the NTSB report, it's difficult to determine what role the right seat CFI played in the fateful decision to launch. At minimum, he acquiesced. A CFI is always a CFI, even when not specifically operating as CFI or PIC. CFIs are encouraged to speak up, step in, and assert their judgment. This CFI passenger was in a tough spot, riding along with a strong-willed pilot who was also a CFI, but importantly had relied on the passenger
Couple of
CFI
boneheads,
for instruction in the Lake Renegade.
Just
Perhaps he felt
them.
intimidated by the
Killed
pilot's
them.
experience, some 30,000 hours more than he. Perhaps the passenger CFI also didn't fully appreciate the demanding scenario building. Lake pilots do not consider 150 hours to be experienced. Committed to a poor decision, the pilot proceeded in haste, which usually invites mistakes, and did so on this flight. He forgot to lower the flaps in accordance with the Lake operating manual, and a checklist stating the same was posted in a visible location on the instrument panel. This was an error that was compounded by rough
See,
water.
I never put the
post-accident
flaps up
interview with
when
the
I'm on the ground.
NTSB,
Just never
the
do
right
it.
seat CFI passenger said he heard the pilot verbalize that the flaps were down prior to starting the takeoff. He also claimed that the Lake Renegade could take off without the flaps extended.
It's
but
true.
it would result in a longer takeoff
It
distance.
is very true.
While
You
this
can do
statement is
it.
technically true, it is not optimal procedure, nor is it recommended by the manufacturer, especially not for rough water conditions. Had the right seat CFI realized that the flaps were in fact up, it's not clear if he would have corrected the pilot.
That would have immediately resulted
Neither
in a
the
stall
pilot
crash
nor the
right there.
CFI passenger seemed deterred even after an elongated takeoff run. Bouncing through the rough water, the pilot failed to properly counteract the porpoising, which should
the
have been
porpoising is
anticipated.
something you have to be really,
Lake Air-
really cognizant of.
Craft
That's
pilots
something I
match
can
their
do because
experience
now I got
level
this
with
video up.
bumps
What I can
on
do
the
is I can
takeoff
actually play
run.
some video from
After a single
my
bump,
NAS
Lake
of
pilots
the.
are encouraged to retard the throttle and regroup. After 3 bumps, even the most experienced lake pilots are encouraged to abort.
Yeah.
On this run, the pilot bumped off the waves 3 times but continued the takeoff. The combination of mistakes proved fatal.
Like, look at that attitude.
Operating in rough water,
He would have been going
in a
like this.
tailwind, without flaps, heavy
Boom,
weight,
down he goes.
and executing poor rough water takeoff technique left almost no other outcome but disaster. The end result
There's not
was that
really-
a high-time pilot
well,
and a CFI
there's
were
a
involved
reasonable
in a
number of
disaster that
crashes
took
in
the pilot's
Oshkosh.
own life.
That
plus
was
the
pilot
life of a
for
passenger.
United. I think ran a 150 out of fuel after having instruments go up and passing plenty of airports that would have been great to land at. Yeah, there's a lot of cases of things like that going wrong. So let me go and ask the NAS. Ask the NAS. Pull this up. Pretty sure I'm connected to... No, I'm not. Okay. Share. You can't see any of this because I've got it. It's okay. So I'm going to go under video. Oh. Maybe I've got... Yes, we're going to play... We are going to play this one. The inset. Full screen, you stupid thing. There you go. And hit play. So this is a video I cut together. That's a bit loud. I cut this together. Obviously, I'm not doing a great job of pace. Come on, pace. Oh, and it's having a hard time. Yeah, that's why, because it's chugging. Well, okay. Oh, because I'm on Wi-Fi. Well. Alright, well, I can't play that because it's too slow. I don't have a good thing there. But I've got some great drone footage. Time lapses. Let's see. Security. Plane. In any case, I should get those all loaded up. Where did I find that? So this was, yeah, Supercut 1. I'm going to see if I actually have Supercut somewhere else. Supercut. Let's figure out where this file is. This file is... Okay, I have this loaded on the machine, so this will probably work. That's a little better. Pacing. Currently going bald. Mostly just cutting together fun footage I've taken. Me and my brother and my dog. Yeah, dog, you're funny. Like, I have some good shots, just like, sometimes I just need to learn to edit faster. I'm already bored by this. So this is flying down in the Livingston Range in a glider. This is a friend of mine. This is before... His plane looks so naked right now because there's nothing on that photo, on that video. Whereas the plane right now has got stickers all over it. Look at that wing, just flexing, doing aerobatics. You can just see the G-forces. You can see that wheel on the outside of it there. The wings bending back under. You can see it's the Inspired. It's before I got the Mavics. The Mavic. That Inspire was a great drone, but my god, was a pain in the ass to set up every time. These are the gliders of the club. I used to be president of that club. It's so easy to pace too slow, try to retain content, not realize until you watch it again a few days later. I do it all the time, yeah. Yeah, and it's been a few years, and this is honestly one of the first things I ever edited together. So pace is bad. This footage needs to be stabilized a bunch. My modern content is quite a bit better than this. So. It's amazing, just watching something back after a little while, just going like, I was so proud when I made this thing. I'm like, man, I'm so good. And then now I watch it, I'm like, man, I'm embarrassed. Look at all that cannabis. Like, everything's flying and overshot, and then, oh look, it's a weed. That was our cannabis factory right there. Another shot of the cannabis factory. 55,000 feet of cannabis growth. Yeah, exactly, Piper. That is exactly it. Botany Bay. Yeah. Well, so I love this shot. This shot is brilliant. That's why I use it for my intro, right? So 55,000 square foot is sounds like it's big, but our facility later was 1.2 million square feet, and then the one after that was like 1.4 million square feet. So you know, at the time 55 was pretty big, but as we got to be a much bigger company, you know, it kind of got small. Let me see if I can find any more video that I haven't ever really shared. Ooh, Reno 2021. So the problem is these are going to be stupid huge. So I'm just pulling out. So like that clip right there was it's 134 megs for 11 seconds. Stupid. All my best stuff is later in the week. Let's scroll down. So all this stuff is shot in ultra high frame rate. So just like look at that. There's Dreadnought. These are the Unlimiteds going. Just slow motion makes everything so much better. 120 frames per second. Yep, exactly. That's what the A7S III does natively. Landing gear coming out. Saw a video about a 4-engine turboprop where the far right propeller flew off. Ooh, and got a hole into the belly of the fuselage where you could see through into the ocean. Steering column was locked, then let a couple of degrees of maneuverability. Yep. Run episode of Star Trek or other stuff. I should. Problems keep compounding until they find all the solutions. Yeah, it can be a big problem. A really big problem. Maximize that, and then you guys can actually see the glory of this video. So this is all shot in log, so it needs a color grade on it, like really badly, but ooh, look at that. I don't think that's how you land. Brace yourself. Brace yourself, because you're gonna have an impact with the ground full speed. Let me see if I can find some other stuff. I think this was the... Yeah, some guy's ass. I think this is just people waiting around. Yeah. Whoa! Go around there. Well, I broke that airplane. It's 3 seconds of video. That's not useful. $33 seconds. I think this is us just waiting. More of the unlimited stuff. This might actually all be day 2 stuff. Here's the jets.
Not how you fly planes.
Not how you fly planes.
Not how you do it.
It's not how you do it. Let's see if this... Should be able to see the jets coming in. there we go. Somewhere around here. Ooh. I have so much of this footage that I have to just kind of go through. It's just, they're just like hovering. It's wonderful. Just absolutely wonderful. Should make that full screen so you guys can actually see this. Let's go and just have some fun down in Reno. Reno, Lower Loon, Salt Lake City, Reno Stead. There we are. Set as departure. Let's pick a Reno airplane. Let's pick Baby Boomer. Because I know how much Fliggity hates that, if he's still here. Let's see if we can find video of the T6 class. Delete, don't care. This might be... No, this is Unlimiteds. Kind of an idea of how fast these things actually go. It's having some troubles with that bit rate. Oh, this will be cool. This will be real cool. Aww. Messed that one up. That's Goldfinger there. Just, I wanted to get all the photographers in there, in that shot. Some of these shots, just to kind of give it some context of just how fast these guys are going. My camera was having a hard time keeping up with them, I'll tell you that. Let's do a bit of a tour here. Alright. So, where I was standing for these videos would have been right down... and the video's over. So I would have been standing right down over here. So I think here is where the pylon is. Yeah, that's where the pylon is, right there. So that's where the pylon is. And I would have been standing right out there. Thanks for the follow, Sidious Croaks. So let's see if we can find video of... Thanks for the follow. Hello, Foxy Chiller. Is the Texan a mod or in the sim? It is in the sim, but you have to buy it from Microsoft. So it's not in there by default. I'm literally just trying to find video of them right now. No, this is Formula. Formula E. So that airplane there, that's these are the guys that that gave me the simulator fuselage. So Yeah, that's wonderful. So that is Formula. Probably got lots of video of Formula. We all have seen, so the Reno Air Race pack is kind of, it's cool, but, you know, I'm already half bored of it. So I haven't actually played it in several days. It's more Formula. There's the Osprey. Did I like just put the cap on and leave the thing running? Smart. Yes, Marty. Ooh, these guys are good. Look at that. That's a nice shot. Slow motion Thunderbirds. Oh. Some days I'm like, maybe I'm not terrible at photography and video. I need to turn that into something. Hi, how you doing? You're a psychopath. Okay. Looks like Mojave. It's actually Reno Stead. So the Thunderbirds in the little inset video you see, they're actually flying pretty much right where I am right now. Well, I know, doggy. Look at them go. So they, one of the agreements we have with the Reno is they have it like a Dropbox for us to put some of our best photos to help them promote the races, and like they almost never have like really good high quality video. So that was like my secondary thing. I'm not seeing what I was taking video of. But of course, when it's like 5 times longer than it actually should be, like a 5-second video is ends up being like 30 seconds. Yeah, it's nothing. It's just on and off. I will find some T6 Texans. There's that guy's ass again. Oh yeah, this is the... I don't know what this is. So this is the flying start that they do at the beginning, and you can barely see those planes up there. But what they're doing is they're coming up around Peavine, which is the mountain you can see right up ahead there. So right up over here, this is Peavine Mountain. They come down there, and they call it down, they say it's down the chute, and they come down, and they're all lined up and go all the way down there. And there's Brace Yourself coming up in a Spitfire. I don't have guns. Please don't shoot me. My hands are up. Oh, I tried to implement you. It didn't work. It is a Texan, T6 Texan, yep. This one's called Baby Boomer. It's owned by the guy who's actually the president of the Reno Air Race Association. When he sells it, first thing you do is rename it to Millennial or Gen Z. Max smoke pouring from my Spitfire. Did you leave it in full throttle? Because it has, even if you don't turn on stress, it'll still stress out and blow up the engine. Plus, they added smoke effects a few updates ago that people are starting to implement, which is really nice. Yeah, this looks like the Unlimiteds. Yeah, that's the Unlimiteds. Nope, don't do that. Do that. There we go. Oh, that's such a good shot. All the Unlimiteds coming down the chute. I didn't go over Vianney. You didn't see anything. Did you camp at the airport when you were at Reno? No, I was downtown at the Silver Legacy. It's great shots here. Get these things color graded. I know, right? It's easy enough to color grade them. It's just I just haven't done it yet. These are the raw. Like this is literally the raw footage. Okay, let me check the Reno A folder. 0 items. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Where? Did I just lose a bunch of footage? Oh, I hope not. I hope not. I'm actually a little worried now. Stick. You know, 2021? Where the fuck are these files? I had so much of the Texans. These are the formula guys. Just how fast that actually is. You don't realize, like, well, the formula guys are slow. No. Aww. I had to come and say hi. It's like, I gotta get some footage of that. It'll piss off the dog. Oh, here's the biplanes. Hi. What's wrong? What's wrong? That looks like a Christian Eagle. Hi. Look at his world if he had no dogs in it. No kidding, exactly. Nice O. Well, I'm sure, I know I have a backup somewhere around here as well. See if I can actually start finding stuff. So I'm going to turn that off so I can actually go and start looking into my backup folders. And go... Time machine, enter time machine, and see. Where's the WinZip backup disks? Yeah. June, July, August, September 30th. These are all on the wrong disk, probably. $10.4. I'll find them. I'll find them later. But I had. Where else would I put them? Unless the drive is just acting up on me, which is possible. So it did have drives fail effectively at the same time. 88. Data. No, they're not there either. Alright, well, I'll figure that one out later. It's not really that important, but yeah. No WinZip, make zip files right. I mean, what are they called? Zip drives? Yeah, I remember zip drives. I had a zip drive when I was a kid. Well, my mother had a zip drive, and they were so unreliable. We would never have a zip drive, a zip disk last us more than like 6 months. It was just... You just don't use them for backups because it just didn't work. They're great for transferring stuff around, but we didn't have anywhere to transfer them to because we didn't have any other machines to put them onto. So it was like, it kind of defeats the entire purpose. The drives were failing. The disks were failing. Other people had better experience than we did, but we just never had great experience. Parallel port connections on a friggin' drive. I'm kind of bothered. Where would I put that video? Alright, this is not going to end well if I can't get these gear down. Boat to stall. Gear is down and locked. Flaps coming down. Landing in the very last part of the runway. Never had a zip disk fail on me, but it write to them a lot. Yeah. Seemed like I could use readable CDs. Yeah. Yeah, it was... we didn't have it for very long. Or at least I never really used them very much. It was my mother who mainly used them. She had, you know, a lot more data. And everything I had, I could just leave on the local disk. I didn't need to move it around. But she would bring them to work. And I think she brought the whole drive with her, which was probably part of the problem. Bringing around a sensitive drive like that in the car... Yeah, probably not the best of ideas. So, yeah. C0171. Well, I know I've got a backup drive here somewhere with that kind of stuff on it, so... Though it might have purged them, so we'll see. Alright, let's go check out downtown Reno. Now, does anyone else have any crash videos or airplane crash videos they want to take a look at? Maybe we can recreate them? Learn some lessons? You know, I think I just put them all in the same folder. I think that's all that happened there. I don't think I actually lost anything. Yeah, because they're all of, like, different dates and stuff. I'm trying to think of any, yeah. There's got to be some good stuff. Maybe even an airliner one we can do. formula. I will find this footage of a T6 Texan because this is, like, the sound is absolutely unreal with these things. I know Brace Yourself was there for the Jack Roush one. I'm not familiar with that one. Ooh, there's a good one. Inset. Oh, I had it lined up perfectly. Whatever. This is jets. Still jets. Oh, it's the F-35 demo team. They did, the Thunderbirds did a sneak past, and I could feel the heat from their engines. That's how close they were to us, because we were just out in the field. It was just, it was incredible. Absolutely incredible experience. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, wait till you see this one. Wait until you see this one. Put the flaps up. Live, they sounded incredible. Were they, what was going by when we were live? Yeah, that was one of the times when I was live. So there's the jets ripping by. Just... oh, so good. So when they do that fly past, they're like right above you. More jets. I will find these T6s. There's a bird. Apparently there's an award for who gets the best wildlife footage. There's the Osprey again. More of the Osprey. Yeah, exactly. Stalling. Pretty sure this is like, we're getting up on the unlimited heats here. I think this is the duck walk. Yeah, I'll have to look around. I'm sure I have that, so. Remember, because you were streaming and I was like, wow. Yeah, the air races are absolutely incredible. I am really hoping that next year I get access to the pylons as well. The best way to do that is to publish something really, really, really badass. Problem is, I was hoping, like, with the press pass, I'm like, well, I'm going to walk around to the cameras. And then I was like, I built the simulator. It's like, well, I can't walk around to the camera and take footage of everything anymore. So, you know, mix my time. So down here is Reno Stead. This is kind of where everyone definitely want to slow that up because we're going to overspeed otherwise. This is the set of hotels that everyone stays at. So there's El Dorado, then there's Silver Legacy right here, and then there's Circus at the end. And those are the three. And they're all connected together, so you don't even have to go outside and get yelled at by a homeless man. Although you can if you want to. It is Reno. Over here, there's... so I think this is GSR, and... don't remember what this one's called, but this is where some of the other teams go. So the sport class guys, I think they're all stored. They're all over there. Formula guys are all over here. Yeah, just depends on which race team you're with. There's a really nice Mexican restaurant down by the water over here. So what was that one you were mentioning? The that crash, the Jack Roush. Jack Roush. So I gotta Google for that one. Plane crash EAA in 2018 or 2010. You can just see that's just slow. Like, what is he doing? Oh, and he's gonna land at the end? Yeah. That ain't good. Just getting slow. Oshkosh and the Beach Jet. Yeah, let's go and replicate.
From here, you can turn northbound on the down. Like on
look at that.
Of, Oshkosh,
hard stalled.
Right, rock your wings. Alright, make a right-hand turn, maintain 1,800
Let's
while crossing
do
over
this.
the departure into runway 18 enter left downwind, runway 18 right.
Left downwind, 18 right.
Whitman Regional, set as departure, and let's go pick a jet.
Be okay with this? Affirmative.
CJ4 seems to be a pretty accurate representation-ish. It's close as we can get.
Turn your base to beam the tower, runway 18 right, clear to land on the pink dot.
Yeah, that was a hard landing. Hard landing.
And, Lake, go around.
Lake going around.
All aircraft on the runway, they just closed the airport, unknown reason. Stand by, we'll get...
They just closed the runway, unknown reason. I think it's a known reason. Thanks, guys. So, Oshkosh is super interesting. Yeah, it definitely did land better than it could have. Not as well as it should have. Alright, so Oshkosh is a really interesting place for the week that it happens. To get into Oshkosh, so the big thing is, like, all these fields, all of them, they're all filled with airplanes. Every single one of them. Just filled with airplanes. Absolutely jam-packed. All the way to the end, all the way to the other side. Just crazy amounts of airplanes that are packed in here. So they can't do a standard approach procedure, because if they do, there's just not going to get enough planes in there. So instead what they do is they have this thing called the Fisk Arrival, and I don't know exactly where it is. They follow the train tracks somewhere down here. Intercept the train tracks, you follow them in. There's a whole procedure for it. But the idea is at the end of that, so when you're coming in, you're not talking on the radio, they're talking to you. They're like, Silver Beechcraft, rock your wings. Then you go, ooh, and you rock your wings, right? Or they go, Blue Cessna, rock your wings. And you rock your wings, and they identify you, and they tell you to follow it in. And I think you follow in... Oh, come on. So, that was even better than straight up a cow landing. What's the cow landing? Yeah. This is what happens when I overspeed an airplane. So in any case, you follow it in, and then they tell you to land at a certain place. And often there's, we can't see it in this because they don't have it in the scenery. I'm hoping that Microsoft, in 2022, basically creates a scenery pack. 'Cause it'd be reasonably easy for them to make a free scenery pack for Oshkosh and just release that. Although I think there is a free one anyway, so you could just load that in. But like, celebrate Oshkosh, because Oshkosh is what we call the big show. So, so what they'll do is they say they'll get that plane to come in there and land. Raven would have pulled that one off, yeah.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
Quarry pit.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
So depending on where the wind is, depending on a bunch of stuff, they vector everybody in. But what you do is there's dots on the... Yeah, okay, shut up. Shut up for landing gear. So there's some dots on the runway, but there's also dots on this taxiway. And they'll actually tell you land on a specific dot. So you'll be landing, and there'll be another plane right in front of you landing over there. So you've got two planes coming in and landing on different dots, and they're just trying to do conflict avoidance. But the problem with that is some people, they try and get really low or really, really slow so they can get right on the dot and do a spot landing. And it's like, don't do a spot landing. Just land as close to that dot as you can. Make sure you got airspeed. Don't fuck it up. And that's really the only real major advice they have is just get the plane down safely and don't fuck it up. Just listen to directions and don't fuck it up. So, but what that guy did is he got in way too slow, probably because his plane is probably too fast for that. Generally, the guys coming in IFR on fast planes like this, they'll land on that other runway we took off at, and they come in with IFR procedures because they realistically shouldn't be landing and taking off with Cessna 172s. There's also a procedure for Nordo airplanes because there are genuinely Nordo airplanes that come in. It's the planes without radio. What animal makes butter? Cows. Cow landing is landing so hard you have to follow the butter at its origins. Okay. It's one of the references. Not sure which. Yeah, exactly. That quarry is one of the references for sure. So when they're coming in, this is actually overshooting because, you know, they want to leave this flight path open for them. So they have to do a hard turn and come in and land like right over here. So what that guy did is he came in. Obviously wasn't supposed to land at the first mark. Supposed to land at the second mark. And oh, this does have air brakes. So he was coming in like this. And a little over from there.
Stall.
And then he didn't have it in there, and he's just like, oh!
Stall.
Now, I made it down, but that guy obviously didn't, so. My neck and my back. Yes, exactly.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't
It's
sink.
amazing the climb performance of these Cessnas, these little Citation jets. They are just fast airplanes. The speed at which they climb is just absolutely insane. Alright. Left turns to right. Is he a NASCAR guy? I'd never really heard of him before. Oh, what was that guy's name who crashed the Long Easy? So this is called AirVenture, Oshkosh AirVenture.
Landing gear.
It is the big show, as they like to call it sometimes, because it is the aviation event of the year. It's if there's one event you go to, it's this one, and it's a huge air show. And one of the team owners, I gotcha.
500.
500. Yeah, those are definitely not accurate landing lights.
Stall. Stall.
This is one of the airports that...
Stall. Stall. Stall.
This is not how you're supposed to land a plane.
Stall.
There's a reason you don't see planes landing at that attitude. Let's wheelie on down. Boop. This is one of the airports that you would figure Asobo would be paying really, really special attention to, because this is like the aviation event of the year for most pilots. They're like parking planes all the way down here. You can walk right up. Here, I think, is where they have right here. I think this is where they have the vintage show. So that's where all the vintage airplanes go. Here is where like the ultralights are, right here. And these are all like restaurants and stuff during the shows. Let me go over here. High speed. Come on, high speed taxi. People are just filling up these, just walking up and down here. You can't take a one wheel or anything. It kind of sucks. And these are more kind of ultralight stuff over here. And this is special right here. This little field. This is where they do the stall demonstrations and ultralight demonstrations. So most of the air show happens out here, arrivals, departures, etc. But all day long they have the secondary set, and this turns into into a runway. And you can kind of see it's a little bit marked out. But I have some great footage of Trent Palmer coming around. So I parked myself. Come on, turn harder. There you go. Good little airplane. So I parked my ass right about here, and when they're doing the show, when they're doing like the stall demonstration, the planes will come in right here, and then they'll do a hard 45-degree left turn to land down there. So I got this great footage of them coming in really, really low, and then doing a hard turn and coming around in. Let me see if I can find that footage here for you. Will be my photos if I go under places. And because I'm pretty sure I did most of it on my phone at the time. See how close I can get in. There it is. Alright, so if I switch this on, inset, and let me see. So this is that field. So right there, we were effectively looking like that. Here's, I think this is Trent Palmer taking off. This is the, slow motion version. Fast forward that a bit. There he goes. Ooh. Look at that. Not the best dynamic range on a phone, but, whatever. I'll take it. Maybe all my good footage of them landing is on the other thing, the other camera. Some of the night show stuff is just bonkers cool. I don't know if any of these are videos. Doesn't look like it. This one's video. Just the sparklers off the end of that. Oh, tell you, man. Yeah, a full night show, full aerobatic night show. Whole bunch of airplanes just flying around at night with sparklers and shit on their wings. Demo teams. Let me see if I can find some more. I swore I had more footage of that. Night show stuff. This is in the woods. I think that's Burt Rutan up there talking. If no other reason, this is why to go to Oshkosh, because they have girls standing up on the bar with guys doing beer keg stands and shit off there. Why not, right? It's weird. It's like this is clearly in the wrong place. These are definitely, you know, over here, not over there. That's in the right place. These are all in the right place. That's so weird. Whatever. Well, look in the Jello Shots folder. Yeah. A mod for it on Flight Sim. Yeah. Yeah, there is a mod for Oshkosh on in-flight sim for sure. All right, good night, Sebastian. Let's find somewhere else to fly. What time is it here, anyways? Yeah, we still got like another half hour until we can pack her in. So let's go find something else to fly around and do. So let's turn off that inset there. Powerless over Paris. That sounds like that could be a fun one.
I cycled the power one more time, finally put in 7,600.
As soon as we saw the emergency squawk, the supervisor was in.
Ryan, we got a situation going on over here.
I know the power was up for about a minute, then went out again.
You see souls and fuel remaining?
I don't know how much fuel I got, but I bet I got at least 1 or 2 quarts.
Air traffic control. Mayday.
So you got 2 choices: to give up or fight for your life.
Told them I loved them, and I put the nose of the plane down.
There's some great footage or video of these air accidents where of like ferrying airplanes over the ocean and stuff. Just scary.
Dr. Peter Edenhofer, an instrument-rated
Global kill
commercial pilot with over 1,800 hours
Tell
of
me know what that
experience,
is.
flew
I
his
don't.
1977 Cessna Cardinal from his home airport in Paris, Texas, to Castroville Airport near San Antonio.
Oh, wrong Paris.
After a long day of work, Dr. Edenhofer began prepping for his night flight home. He checked the weather along his route. In Castroville and Dallas, the current weather conditions and forecast were VFR, favorable for flying. but Paris was reporting low, thick cloud cover that
CPRX.
started just 200 feet above the ground.
Of course, the trouble with Paris is that they only give you the weather right now, so you always have to look predominantly at Dallas to see what the weather forecast is going to be. So I looked at that. It was okay.
KPRX.
Right around
Yeah.
Greenville, there was like a front.
There we
a weather
go.
front, which of course meant that you know, your tension level goes up a little bit every time, for me at least, when I know I'm going to be flying hard IFR. But I didn't see anything there that said it's a no-go, don't even bother.
Dallas altimeter 2982.
All right, let's go fly
It was
this
late
thing.
Sunday, so traffic was light, and I had worked the doctor in to Paris.
Pronounce
Come in from
Go
South
Beckley Tepe.
and cleared him for the approach.
No, I haven't heard of that.
November 34731, cross Pupo at or above 3000, cleared RNAV GPS runway 35 approach.
And crossing.
Oh, it's a archaeological site. Okay, that's why I hadn't heard of it. It's in Turkey.
November 34731, report Pupo.
Ah.
I was flying very high, 10,000. Coming down, and I hit the clouds around 5,000 feet. That's about a mile of clouds to go before I get out.
November 34731, radar contact lost. In November 34731, there's a good chance I'll lose you on radios also here. Your radar service is terminated.
Dense
Report your
clouds.
cancellation or downtime. This
It's not dense enough for me.
I'm going to give you an alternate Fort Worth Center frequency of 123.9 or 2, 2392 for your cancellation also.
Okay, 123.92.
So flying in, and power goes out, all the electric.
Yeah. Well, if you believe the pyramids, the Sphinx are only 4,000
At
years
this
old.
point in the flight, Dr. Edenhofer is flying an IMC just below 2,500 feet on an RNAV approach to Paris. At that altitude, because of the area's topography, he's
Is that one
expecting to have poor radio reception, especially when talking to Fort Worth Center. Now, without electrical power, his Cessna Cardinal has no radios, no fuel gauges, no transponder, no GPS,
Ooh, that's
no
not
flap
good.
control, and no lights inside the cockpit or outside the airplane.
Oh, that's not good. Everything basically goes
I
dark.
thought, fine, we'll just fly straight and leveled. I was descending, but leveled out somewhat, and cycled back up, and okay, good.
So
Everything's
he
good
loses
again.
all electrical power,
By
which
this time, though,
means
however, I've flown a little bit too far, so I knew I had
like that.
definitely passed the final approach fix, so had to come back, and thick IFR, I don't want to change my altitude too much, so I'm just going to concentrate on making a nice horizontal turn back to the final approach fix. As I'm coming back towards the final
I said
approach,
turn off.
power goes out again.
There we go. Bye.
And at this point, my flaps are down, and I'm thinking, I don't need to be landing right now. So full throttle, we're just going to board. So I figured, okay, this is not a good day. Tension levels up there, and I did have my
All right,
little
so we
red
can't
lights,
see
so I put
shit.
headlights on, so that provides some
No
visibility, so you can
GPS,
see the
nothing.
basics of the panel. Got level at least, and I cycled the power one more time. Had enough power to get the flaps up.
So the
And
alternator is
I'm
effectively
climbing out.
blown out on him.
Not just
Yeah, the
missed
engine doesn't
approach.
shut off. You actually have a thing called a magneto. So
trying to get
it's one of the things that actually is replaced on my airplane. So you have two magnetos on the airplane, and those magnetos are completely self-sustaining. So one for the left, one for the right, because there's two spark plugs in every cylinder. So with that, it's spinning, it's generating its own power, it's generating its own timing, everything's all being generated right off there. So you effectively don't need to have electrical power. Now, I have an electronic ignition, which is much more reliable than they are, but yeah, flaps down. Yeah, all right, we'll turn the flaps down just to match what this guy's dealing with. Let's see if we can
the power went out a third time. Okay, so at this time, I'm really getting a little bit nervous, and but still, I had a backup gyro, and just looking at all the other gauges,
So he's got a
the old
backup
steam
gyro.
gauges, which are a good thing. So finally got out of the clouds, again about 5,000, 5,500, somewhere around there. My concern at that point was, what does
I need to
ATC
turn my-
think? Do they know that I'm out here? Hopefully they don't think that just another GA pilot that landed and forgot to log out.
Boys here, November 34731, is on the GPS runway 35 to Paris. He's been there for about 4 minutes. We should be getting a downtime within the next couple. Do you have any questions?
No question.
Right as Phil was assuming the sector, we both noticed that the doctor's code had come back up out of Paris on a missed approach.
He's still climbing. You said he was on the GPS approach. What's the missed approach altitude for that?
He should be going to 2200. What do you see him at?
He's at 4,500 now. It looks like he's still climbing.
Oh man, I have no idea where we are.
We know it's foggy. We know it's IFR, so it's not unusual for a pilot to do a missed approach and try again. But usually, when they come up on a missed approach, they talk to
See,
us.
of course, I
Hey, I had to do
would
the
just
missed
have,
approach.
oops,
Let's,
wrong one.
new
I would
approach
just
procedure or
have
something.
ForeFlight running, right?
But you get his transponder for a couple of hits, like Phil said, for 20, 30 seconds, and then it goes
Have to
away.
stay running, yeah.
Okay, well, he was climbing.
Exactly.
So we feel pretty confident that the airplane's still flying.
The first sign that something was wrong was that he was above the missed approach altitude. He's still climbing. I think something's going on.
Okay. Brian, we got a situation going on over here.
November 34731, Fort Worth Center, over.
I cycled the power back. At that time, I was pretty nervous already, so actually I had difficulty remembering what number do you put in. It's 7 something, so it actually took like a good minute.
7500 is.
I know the power is up for about a
76
minute,
is.
and then
77 is
went out
emergency.
again. So
76 lost comms.
here I am. My brain is racing, and I started
Who's
seeing
directing
everything
this?
in terms of headlines and pictures, and then I started seeing the pictures of people at my hometown reading the paper. Oh well, he crashed. He's a dumb doctor, and and he should have known better. And I see all these conversations going on in my mind. I have 3 boys. I want to tell them goodbye.
I have no idea where I am now. I wasn't on the approach like he was, so at
pull
least
out
he
the
has
phone,
some
start
indication of
text.
where he was. But
Brian, I think we have a situation
character,
going on.
Jim.
Yeah, he's squawking emergency now.
he's the actual guy who actually lived through it.
34731. He's through his missed approach altitude, and it looks like he's starting to squawk emergency.
And do you know the nature of the emergency?
Negative. Everything was normal. Cleared him for approach about 7-8 minutes ago, and it looks like he's just gone primary target only. Let's start running the checklist.
Oh, did I just see the light from the airport over there?
Cell phone on file.
As soon as we saw the emergency squawk, the supervisor was in, and that lasted for about 20 or 30 seconds, and then it went away, and then we had only the primary target available.
Right now, the radar's only painting the airplane, just the skin of
look
the
at that,
airplane.
look at
There's
that.
no electronics or anything. So it can get a little dicey when you're just dealing with primary targets because they're not reliable.
Or is it? No, it wasn't
Phil took over
active,
the
yeah.
sector and started making some broadcasts to see if we could raise the doctor.
Bit
We
high.
don't know what's going on at this time.
November 34731.
I didn't catch what
Fort
year
Worth
this
Center. If
was.
you hear Fort Worth Center,
What
acknowledge
year
I'm
this
in.
accident was, or this incident?
It was a real wave of just wanting to give up. Just get it over. I'm not going to make it. I figure, well, okay. What do you do? I'm not going to crash the plane. That'd be stupid. You really kind of feel like, well, that's it. And I thought, well, that'd be kind of dumb. And then I heard the voice of the
Just keep fighting, bud.
flight examiner.
You can do it.
My IFR. It says, fly the plane. Fly the plane.
See,
And
today.
I heard his echoes. Fly the plane.
So, whenever someone, so this is a question someone always asks, is like, what happens if your iPad goes out? What happens if whatever else happens, right? The answer is, like, I have my phone. I can still use my phone. I can still use my iPad. Like, if my in-airplane avionics fail, I can still use all of these things. But more importantly, people are like, well, what happens, I rely on all this technology. It's like, well, if my radio goes out, what do? I pick up my phone, I connect my phone to the Bluetooth on my aviation headset, and then I start making phone calls. I start calling the tower and just say, hey, my radio went out. I'm IFR. Can you vector me in? So thinking about these things, like what would happen if this failed? Like this is something that as someone in IT and someone in technology, I think about these things. I'm sure you do as well. Brace yourself, or anyone else out there. I'm sure you think about these things as well. So in aviation, A lot of people don't. They just go, yeah, no, the plane is all set up. We got all these avionics and all these backups and everything, and it'll be fine because they're all certified. And it's, yeah, exactly. Fly it or give up. And apparently this guy kept flying, which is the right decision. Aviate, navigate, communicate.
I still have fuel, so my backup plan is land on the highway.
Get low until you see something you can land on.
Because I couldn't have landed in Paris anyway. And if you're flying down, gliding without fuel onto a highway that you can't even really see, how are you going to land? Regain composure somewhat, and knew I had to fly south. I had the phone, and I figured, okay, let's see what the phone can do. I'm over 5,000 feet. My phone shouldn't work. That's what I thought, but the GPS came out on my phone. I was heading the right directions. I was actually starting to see some
wasn't prepared.
Clouds. And then I realized, you know, I can't even activate the runway lights. I don't have radio.
You don't need that.
Hello, this is Fort Worth Center. Can you look up the flight plan on November 34731 and give me any information you have from his flight plan? Okay, so you have just the pilot's
let's try
name,
this.
home base is Paris. No other information, no phone number, anything? All right, thank you.
Let's see if I can find something on it.
All right.
Hey Hugh, I got a couple of questions for you. You got a minute?
Hey Charlie.
This aircraft that's gone into Paris, Cardinal.
Yeah, I've got a little time on a Cardinal way back when.
If he refueled in South Texas, he's been in the air for about 3 hours. How much more gas do you think he has?
He's probably burning about 8 to 9 gallons an hour.
As long as he's been in the air, yeah, he's probably starting to run low on gas.
All right, thanks
so
for
if I
the
have
info.
ForeFlight, this is exactly what I'm doing here.
November 34.
I'm literally just following this around until I find.
Hey, Charlie, we got lucky. I got the phone
Find the
number
airport.
from the switchboard operator at the hospital. I tried calling, couldn't get an answer, but if you want to go ahead and try straight from the sector, I'm going to go work with law enforcement at the airport, see if we can get anything on the ground there.
Yeah, I'm
All right,
sure that's
I'll keep
exactly
trying.
how
Thanks,
people
Bryce.
talk. This is how human beings talk, right? This is the phone number. You can please, and I had called it, but I did not get an answer. You can maybe try giving it another phone call.
Hey Phil, we've got the phone number.
Hello, other
I
human.
can't get a hold of him.
I'll take the phone number and see if I can send him a text message. Sometimes those go through.
I bet these are like actual pilots and actual air traffic controllers. So try not to be too hard.
Wow. They know I'm
They get a
alive.
text
Good.
message?
This is
Oh, I
really
love
good.
it.
So all of a sudden, things start looking better.
We had
Got
already pretty much
vectored in
surmised
via
that
text
he was heading
message.
to Majors because he had circled
There's
over
the airport
Commerce
right there.
and was heading that way. The adjacent area was working on getting the pilot controlled lights on, in contact with the tower operator, the airport manager, to get them out there to
there's a
make
grass
sure the
runway?
lights were manually turned on. And I continued to provide him information about
Entire
the
time I thought
weather and,
it was Paris,
and things of that
France.
nature.
I did too until they mentioned it that he was in Texas. Like, he's not flying a Cessna in Texas in one day.
And
To
American
Paris
1080
in one
need a
day.
favor. Yes, sir. Got a pilot in distress. We're trying to help him find an airport. I need you to go to CTAF frequency 118.65. It's at Greenville Majors. And key up. Click it 7 times. We want to get him on high intensity. Just report back when you're done. Thank you. American 1080. Appreciate the help. Connect Forward Center 126.57.
You know, this is kind of where you know
This
that
is, like,
ATC is on the same
bad.
wavelength.
Don't
because
do this.
They also said they're going
Just
to have
sitting there and
lights
stall.
activated.
Climb
Da,
up.
da, da.
Lower the
Cavalry's
nose.
coming. Yay.
Sacrifice the altitude.
Okay, good.
Gain some
All right,
airspeed.
so I start
and
to
start
descend.
climbing up.
And where there's a break in the clouds, it's going down. And poof, the break goes away. I'm back in the thick of it. And I've probably only gone down 1,000 feet, so I figured, oh, I don't want to do this. So I figured, okay, flaps are retracted, so I climb back out of the clouds. And I'm thinking, okay, great. Now I just used up whatever remaining fuel
Not without a
I
couple
had,
logbooks.
probably on climbing. And I figured,
Yeah.
I'm going to pass the runway now. So the runway is probably behind me now. So look for another break, and I found another break. This time I was going to go for it. I was not going to take a chance. And it was
So this is why
a
this is
dive.
why every pilot should have
Probably
ForeFlight
well
and
beyond
whatnot
2,000
and
feet.
know how to use it.
And just trying to get through that hole in the clouds.
All right, guys, it looks like he's lined up for the final.
Fingers crossed.
Hey, Charlie, we got the lights on high intensity at Majors and the fire rescue service is standing by.
Okay, he's getting closer. He's lined up.
And poof, all of a sudden, you're out of the clouds. I mean, clear, 10-mile visibility, and I figured,
Like, this is the
wow,
kind of story
I made it.
that people out there who are like,
going
you know,
pretty fast.
an
Pull back very
iPad can never replace a built-in G1000. Yes, it damn well can. You just need to have the software available, and they're just not allowing people to have this software, right? It's bad. So I can get lined up for this runway. Yeah, I'm already lined up, but like, it's easy when you have the right software.
We slow down somewhat. Still going way, way too fast. And the runway's over there. I can see the runway, see the fire trucks, everything. Make a circle, and I just had the engine idling, of course, because really I'm thinking I have no fuel. I'm not counting on fuel anymore. I just want to land. So I pulled back and almost right back into the clouds to slow down, almost stall, and then come back down. And from there,
pull back, slow down.
It was like a nice 80-knot glide all the way in. It was a squeaker, you know?
Just got a text from him that says, landed safely by the grace of God.
Outstanding.
Deal.
Saved via text and phone. There you go.
When he texted that he had landed safely by the grace of God, it was.
There we go.
It was.
It was good.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Well, and because there's so many times when
these situations don't end up like
they
this.
don't
Most
end
of the
well.
time, it ends poorly.
Yeah.
You know.
So people ask
and
me,
it's
what
not-
I'm
it's not
using.
because
I'm
of-
using
of lack
ForeFlight
of
for all my
effort
stuff,
here,
right?
it's just-
So ForeFlight is just an amazing tool because it gives me all these kind of capabilities. So say I want to go from like Paris, Texas, I can go up in here in the flight plan, clear, I go KPRX to KGYI, just something in the area. Type that in there. It's going to give me all the information. So it's going to tell me it's 61 nautical miles. It says there's one air headwind stronger than true airspeed. Okay, well, that's fine. Means there's strong winds. So 61 nautical miles is going to take me 38 minutes. It's going to burn 12.2 gallons of gasoline there. It's going to give me everything. Like, there's a route advisor, so if I want to fly IFR there, I could just go, like, I want to go direct, or I want to do BYP. That's a pretty good one. Pick that one. Suggested 7,000 feet. There we go. So now I've got it there. I can go procedure, departure. So there's no departure here, but I can go procedure. I can go to approach, and I can pick the RNAV into. So this is KPRX. I can pick the RNAV into, let's say, 17 or 35. So 17 or 35. Let's pick 35. And then I can go, which one do I want? So I want HOLOB. That looks like the appropriate one. Cool. Add to route. There we go. That's all it takes to manage an actual flight in ForeFlight. These are the real pilot tools we use. And as you can see, that's like just a handful of clicks, right? Just a handful of little clicks. And I've got it all sorted. Plus, then I can just go over here, go to imagery, check the weather. Obviously, this is Canadian weather right now. But it's got built-in weather, so I can turn that on. I can turn on my surface analysis, or whatever I'm looking for. There's radar composite. Radar composite's kind of the best one. Not a whole lot going on. There we go. There's some weather coming in. Not so bad. It looks like it's going in the wrong direction, so that'd be okay to miss that one. So these are like the great tools you can have. Some people are like, oh, well, it can never match my G1000. I'm like, sorry, it blows your G1000 out of the water. Like, don't kid yourself, bud. Oh, did it just... No, it almost did. Arm standby battery. Like, you can't do that in the G1000. Like, these are simplified G1000s, but most of the stuff I just did there, it takes you several minutes to set up in a G1000. And even on a Garmin 750, it can take you some time, some real time. So,
TOS system test. Okay.
We could literally go and fly that flight in something faster. Why don't we go do that? It's only a 45-minute flight, but we can do it in something fast because this is set up for my airplane, which is much slower. Do you have the working title G1000? I don't know. KGY. And let's pick the, we know a plane I haven't flown in a very long time. It's the, if I can even find it, they need a better way to organize planes. There it is. So, let's literally look on the map. BYP, there we go. Frequency is 114.6. And we can see, confirm that, 114.6. That looks like the right Morse code. Perfect. So let's go and fly this thing. Yes, wine. Parking brake, fine. Cool. Alright, so Navcom. Where's my nav? Nav, let's do this one. 114.6. 6, there we go. And let's set up our PFD settings. Bearing 1, nav 1. And then we go back, set our OBS to... Or don't set the OBS, okay. Nav source, nav 1. Inertial separator's on, go away. Field of view, come on, there we go. Oh man, focus, there we go. Nose goes up, positive rate. Okay, and we'll just fly this. They said, what, 8,000 feet is what they want to fly us to fly this at? So let's do that, 8,000 feet. 7,000 feet. There we go. We go vertical speed. We can actually do FLC mode, which is what we really want to be doing. We want that to be faster. Actually set our autopilot yaw damper. Yeah, that was bad. I was dumb there. Alright, so nav. So if we set our course, synchronize the course directly to... No, that's not it. There we go. Bring back that turbine temperature. Nope. Oh my god, there we go. Thank you. Alright. Now we are tracking direct to, which is more or less what we want. So realistically, we're actually looking at 7, 28, 29, 290. Inverse of 290 is not that. It is that. So let the plane follow that in. Manually fly this without programming everything in the easy way. MFD, flight plan, set destination. So KPRX, because this is the only real way I know to do this. KPRX, enter, good, and procedure, arrival. So we don't need an arrival, we just need approach. RNAV 35, transition holob, and load and activate. There we go. Change that over to GPS and let it follow the GPS in. This is actually going to direct there, but, you know, same shit. So we could, of course, go into here and go back, home, flight plan, add on our waypoint, BYP, hit enter. It's going to create a virtual waypoint there for us, which is perfect. And go back to nav mode, thank you. There we go. So now it's going to fly us direct to BYP. Done. Just having this kind of technology where you just don't have to mess around too much with stuff, and like a G1000 is outdated technology, we'll just say. Very, very outdated technology. And we can go and actually change this weather preset. Let's do that. Let's change it to dense fog. Yeah, I don't care if I'm online or offline. And ass crack of dawn, or middle of the night. I don't remember where all the lights are in this thing. I think they're up here. Access light, dimmer lights. Panel brightness, yay, there we go. That's a lot better. Cabin. Just don't know how to turn off that other light. Probably like up here or something. Alright, so on this approach, we want to be 2200 at Holob. Holob. No lower than 2200. That's fine. Not even sitting on a couch. What a dog. Let's watch the rest of that little clip.
When you're dealing with an airplane and a bad situation, there's a lot of bad things that can happen. Unfortunately, usually we just get to read a report about it the next day, and it's not, you know,
positive.
You know, it's unfortunately sometimes not a good outcome. A cheer went up, and then we went back to work.
Back to work.
Back to work.
I kill the engine, stop, and just this penetrating silence. Can't hear a thing, and you realize you made it.
Turn off those landing lights.
And you know. You're not thinking quite right, I gotta tell you, right? Somehow I'm expecting this round of applause saying, congratulations, you made it, that was awesome! But it didn't happen. Of course, you're in the middle of the runway. And the fire trucks seemed like forever for them to get there. And I kind of thought, well, maybe they'll say,
into the void.
Good landing. And I said, you're right? Yeah. Okay, follow us. It was sort of anticlimactic, you know. the story went on after that, obviously, because we tried to figure out what it was, and we went through the electrical system, didn't find anything wrong, so they figured, well, maybe there's something intermittent in the alternator. No. Found some corroded terminals. Well, maybe that was it. Never had a real satisfying answer. Besides the basic radios and just plain navigation light, there wasn't much on. So, yeah, I don't know why it went out then.
In their decades of experience, controllers Charlie Porter, Phil Innes, and Hugh Hunton had never met one of the pilots they'd helped while on duty. That is, until Dr. Edenhofer came along.
You assist a pilot that's in trouble, and you get the solution and they make it out of it fine, but you never meet them, you never hear anything afterwards. It's just at that moment when they realize everything's okay and they change to advisory frequency or go talk to the tower or just land and it's over, it's just over and you don't know what happened. It was really nice to get to talk to the doctor and get to know a little bit about him and what he felt and that, we had
it's something
an
you
impact.
hope you never have
I'm a physician.
an incident like that.
They were as devoted as a physician to saving lives, and that's saying a lot. That someone that puts their interests above your own. They could have gone home. One guy stayed overtime. I mean, they were really there rooting for me, and it wasn't just a job for them. They were really there trying to pull me out of this. So I think probably it helped a lot that they were able to think out of the box in my situation with the cell phones and had the ability and guts to do that. That, obviously cell phone communication was quite pivotal to my situation. So it could have ended quite differently without it. A lot of lessons to be learned from this whole experience. We need to talk about some of these things. Always have your little red light there when you night fly. Like, I literally always wear it, because you never know. I never thought this would happen. I always thought that I couldn't see.
Yeah,
well,
I have one of those
not
headlamps as
no
well.
Power.
I've never,
like safety
even though, so
precautions. I
I've
used
got
to
like
fly high at night.
1.1
Now I fly
hours
really high at
of
night
simulated
just
instrument until I get my,
so I
my
can make
night
the
rating.
next airport.
But
That's
I
a
never
factor.
intend to fly
If
at
your
night
engine goes,
unless
then your engine
it's like
goes.
there's an
So just
absolute desperate
pre-planning it,
necessity.
a whole
Like,
lot more weather, obviously.
like there's
more
something
focus
really
into that,
screwed up
although,
going on, or like
still have that problem. If you don't have forecasts,
get caught in
where you're
weather or
going,
something,
how
and
good
there's
is
nowhere
it?
to land or
And weather
something.
changes
Being
anyway,
able to
so how
know how to
reliable
get
is
out of
the
that situation is so
I
important.
almost always will file a flight plan, even if it's good weather, even if it's VFR. It's just good practice.
Some pilots, and I think they all should, put their cell phone number in the remarks section. That's
part of your flight
Yeah,
plan.
I do that.
When you fly,
but I
put
don't
your cell number
necessarily
in.
use that because
and if you have a satellite
I have
phone,
their
make
phone
sure it
number.
says
I can call
satellite
them.
phone.
So.
Yeah.
Put that number in there.
Radio, have a nice, really good basic radio with big buttons that you can take out in your sleep and turn on.
And I carry a
get the
spare
emergency
radio with me as well,
frequency.
a nice
I have 3
Yaesu,
attitude
which also,
indicators.
interestingly,
because if
most
one of the
handheld
3 goes
radios only do audio, so just standard communications. My radio also does navigation, so it does VOR, but mine also does ILS, and it actually works. I've tried it. So if I were really screwed, my handheld radio could be used to tune an ILS and get me down. So it also has
which of the
GPS
two
too,
is
but
right.
not that it's
So you can play that game
particularly
with
useful.
yourself. So I thought 3 is a good number. So when all 3 say the same thing, that's when I land. Honest, it sounds really extreme,
All right,
but if
move that
you're
down to
flying
2200.
hard IFR, it feels much better down here. It really does.
Go vertical speed mode. Do 100 feet a minute. Bring back the throttle. Not all the way back, please. Thank you. Just enough. So. Oh, look who's online. Oh. I need to play some more Farming Simulator. I've got an online server. I need to put that thing online and we can all play around.
distinctly remember seeing the left
Oh,
wing.
I remember this one. This is something we'll do some other day. We'll watch this one. This is a good one. There's a particular airfield. There's no go-around opportunities, and they botched landing. It's my recollection of it, and ended up being a real problem. So now this glide slope, because this is an RNAV, it's not an ILS. So it's going to act like an ILS, except it works slightly different. So with an ILS, it's giving you a sweep like this. So the further are you left and right, depending on how far you're out, it's going to give you different distances that you are off from landing. So say you're within a mile and you're only, a slightly, you're only 100 feet off to the right, it's going to give you a real big deflection that you're really far off. Whereas if you're 10 miles out or 20 miles out, but you're only 100 feet off, it's going to give you a very small deflection because it's angular. Whereas on a GPS RNAV, my understanding is most of the GPS RNAVs, they're going to give you how far off you are, no matter if you're right next to the runway or if you're like 100 miles out from the runway. So they're going to give you slightly different guidance. It's something you just kind of got to be used to. Apparently it's not that big of a deal, and I think some of them are actually smart enough to actually know where that is and give you the appropriate guidance, an angular guidance instead of a distance guidance, so, or a absolute guidance. All right, the other thing we can do is we can go back to here and go to speed bugs, activate all, because I don't remember any of these speeds for this plane. 85, about 85 is what we need to be. We need the reference speed and whatnot, so turn those bad boys on.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
A little bit of throttle. Not too much. There we go. Intercept at 2,200 feet. Let's give ourselves some landing lights. Leave the pulse of strobe off, because pulse, if we're in clouds, it's going to blind us. We want to make sure those are off. Same with the strobe. All right. Bring this bad boy in. And I should turn this off, go back to the iPad, and we can actually see just what's going on there. So 2,200 to the IAF, which is Jamvu. Or no, I guess Holbo is the IAF. But FAF is the Jamvu. Javmu. So 548 feet. Probably change my altimeter. There we go. That is a ridiculous step. It's just 2,200, 2,200, and then down. Okay, sure. Ah, there's some ground. Cars driving around. Slick X pickle. Okay. I actually got to fly. Hey, and there's PP in the A320. Yeah, the I got to fly with an actual G1000 just in the simulator, but it works differently than it does in the game. There's certain things like when you set up your bearing, it's like you do a virtual OBS. You have to tell it you have a virtual OBS, so it's kind of weird, but it works. All right, we can start slowing down. And there's my approach mode button, so that's all ready to go. I don't remember if this plane has spoilers. I don't think it does. Should start turning any moment now. There it goes. Cuck boy. Alright, with that, we're going to go into approach mode. We already have VNAV dialed in. Now it's just a matter of following the glide path. So JAVM is 5.1 nautical miles. Let's start bringing that throttle back and get ourselves some flaps. So, okay, so JAVMU, it looks like it's sitting on top of PRX, which makes sense. Slightly offset. That doesn't make sense. But presumably, JAVMU would be used for a approach, VOR runway 35, yeah. So if I were to open that one up, I bet that, yeah, so that, yeah. Circle in, that's why that's there. They're in the same place. Keep a little bit of speed in there. Don't want to go too slow. Can't see shit. Can't see shit. And as soon as we hit that final approach fix, that's when we're going to start slowing down pretty heavily. Alright, and that's the final approach fix. So we should start, there's our vertical guidance.
Landing gear.
Final flaps. Let's get that landing gear down. Alright, so our decision altitude here is, for an LPV, it's 782 or 250 above the ground. So let's keep an eye on that. try and hold that speed. There we go. Still can't see anything out the window. Little fast. Not too fast, though. $1,500 feet, still on the glide slope. Still can't see shit. Oh, runway's in sight. We're good. We can continue this approach. I'm not sure if you guys can see it very well, but it's just barely there, but it is there. A little bit slow. So we're definitely above the decision height. We have made our decision to land this airplane. You don't have to make your decision at decision height. You make it the moment you can make it. If you haven't been able to see the runway by decision height, that's when you turn around. So, let's do this. Alright, boys, let's do this. And get rid of that. That throttle. Runway's made. Ooh, laggy. Prop running in reverse. Cool. Switch this up to taxi mode. There is a taxiway here somewhere. I think that was it. There it is. Poorly lit. That's okay. And off to the ramp. Alright. It's always, like, satisfying to basically land the airplane without seeing anything at all, and just suddenly there it is, all lined up. Cool. Alright, let's figure out who we want to raid. Twitch. Who is online? Find somebody. This guy could be fun. See if he's watching. Doesn't seem to be watching his chat. Well, that's his loss. Ads. Ugh. It's got to be a way to just like... I'd pay $10 a month just to get rid of all ads on Twitch. Very, very annoying. No camera. Apparently turn that off. Man, finding someone to raid is hard. Verified only chat? Okay. Well, whatever. No, he's offline. Well... we'll just do this. And I'll probably see you guys again, I don't know, probably this week. Probably some Farming Simulator before Flig comes on. So, but yeah, we'll go say hi to Studio Canuck. There we go.